one of the one of the Niagara fans posted a live look at Niagara's defense last night. It's pretty good. I like that. Bad. That's a good one.
Not bad. Yeah, I'm sure that's what Moncton is seeing as well. So, as we don't have a director, really anybody that helps us, I will call upon you to be my production assistant for the coach thing.
Done. What you need.
So basically what I'll do is, when we finish at the half, I'll say, don't go anywhere, I'm going to grab the coach and we'll be right, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get you to mute. Just all you got to do is get them both at once. Unmute. Yeah.
You came to the right man for that job.
I was thinking I was...
Mute on mute? I got you. I got you.
Welcome to playoff basketball from the Moncton Coliseum. It's game one of this opening round series between the St. John Riptide, the visitors, the number 3 seed, taking on the home side, Moncton Magic, the number 2 seed in the Atlantic Division. I'm Scott Squires alongside my broadcast partner, Dave Tingley. And Dave, these teams have met 8 times in the regular year, but the playoffs, they call it the second season. There's a palpable difference to the feel of the intensity in the building right now. You could see it in the teams during warm-up. You could see it as they were all swaying teams on both lineups during the national anthem. The energy is raised, the intensity is raised, and it should be a lot of fun.
And the biggest sign is the Magic pulled out some new handshakes for the warm-ups. They had some new routines there for the warm-ups. That's always a telling sign with these guys when they pull out the big stuff for the playoffs.
Well, before we get going,
that's the best analysis I'm going to have all day right there, Scott.
That is not bad at all. That's why I've got you beside me, my friend. And just want to take a moment before we get going, a nice moment just prior to the national anthem, holding a moment of silence here at the Coliseum for those affected, lives lost, and those injured, and all of the family, friends, coaches, just everybody affected by the tragedy in Humboldt with the Humboldt Broncos. And certainly our heartfelt condolences go out to everybody that's been affected by that. Certainly right across the country and across North America, it's been felt. And just would like to let you know as well, I sent it out in a tweet, but certainly our play-by-play broadcast today being dedicated to Tyler Bieber. Tyler was the radio voice for the Humboldt Broncos. He was traveling with the team on the bus, as many of the play-by-play people do, especially at the junior levels. He was a football and a basketball coach for Humboldt Collegiate. He also was the play-by-play radio voice, as mentioned, on 107.5 Bolt FM. So certainly condolences going out to all involved, but again, our on-air portion of this broadcast, David, dedicated to the memory of Tyler Bieber.
And it hits home to fans and family members of everybody involved in this league too, because there's so much bus travel in the NBL. I mean, different levels, junior hockey, pro basketball, but you know, this stuff can happen, and it really hit home. So yeah, nice tribute by you, Scott, and we'll be thinking of everybody out there today as we go through our day here.
So let's get this started. A great crowd on hand here on a Sunday afternoon at the Moncton Coliseum. Anthony Anderson, Corey Allman, Terry Thomas, Juan Patillo, and Brent Jennings, the starting 5 for the Moncton Magic. And for the visitors, it's Horace Wormley, Jeremiah Morty, Mo Isom, Malcolm Miller, and Ali Ahmed. And we are underway. The Moncton Magic wearing their home whites with black trim. Going left to right on your screen, the St. John Riptide, the visitors, wearing the dark blue with white and gold trim. Going right to left. Fans on their feet here at the Coliseum. They won't sit down till the Magic hit a bucket, and Juan Patillo lets them sit down early as he breaks the ice and gets the Magic on the board.
And Juan's got a different feel. He's not been very demonstrative since he's been a member of the Magic. That one he loved going down, and he told the bench about it on the way back, but that's going to be a matchup down there. He's got the athleticism to abuse Ali Ahmed down there. We'll see how he does with it.
So we are underway. Malcolm Miller, he is good from outside, and he hits the triple right there. Keep an eye on 33 in blue. Malcolm Miller, he can be electrifying from outside the arc.
Malcolm Miller, the Magic killer. That's what he's been lately, knocking down those threes with hands in his face.
Terry Thomas, he's good from out there as well. Bangs that one off the back of the iron. There's Malcolm Miller grabbing the rebound. Miller, we mentioned his prowess from outside the arc, 42.1% from three-point range for Malcolm Miller. Now it's Wormley. He can shoot from out there as well. And the Riptide trying to shoot the lights out early here for the Riptide. Back the other way now, it's the Magic. Corey Allman, nice bounce pass to Jennings. He's open. Shot's no good, though, and there's the diminutive Wormley flying in to grab that rebound for the Riptide. A great pace here to get this one going early, Dave.
Absolutely, and Juan Patillo with a great hedge on that Wormley screen roll. And great help on the baseline as well. Patillo energized.
Morty, nice feed to Mo Isom, and that's a combination that we wouldn't have seen in the last game here, the last game of the regular season for the Magic, as both Morty and Mo Isom sat that game out, but they hook up there for the nice bucket.
Yeah, and you see the versatility of this lineup. They got switchable guys and guys who can do a lot of different things and move off the ball on the Magic. Back-to-back wide open threes don't go down.
So a couple of open looks, as you said, don't drop. Both teams very content to put that ball up from outside. Here's Malcolm Miller. 9:49 left to go, first quarter. We are just underway here. It's the playoffs. It's round one, game one, the last series to get underway here in the first round of the NBL playoffs. Wormley gets it over to Mo Isom. Isom, he's comfortable from that range, and he's very comfortable there. It's a two-pointer, but that is his game.
Yeah, the Riptide have 4 guys that shoot 45% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, and 80% from the line. Isom, Morty, Wormley, and Miller. And, yeah, they've all got that mid-range game.
Terry Thomas has the ball in his hands now, gets the little screen, loses the handle. Wormley is there. Nice defense, hindering Thomas. Horace Wormley back the other way, and Corey steps into him, and he'll take the foul.
And a smart play by Corey there. That was going to be a 4-on-2 the other way. But go ahead, Scott. You got something to say.
I was just going to say, that's something you mentioned in the last game, that's something you're seeing more and more, certainly at the pro level, is rather than just allow a player to have a wide open look at the basket, you're seeing more of those open fouls around midcourt.
And it's calculated. If you don't have a foul, the team doesn't have a big number of fouls yet, no harm in taking one.
Brent Jennings off that rebound, went behind the back, lost the handle, and it ends up going to Jeremiah Morty. 7-2 here, 5-point advantage for the Riptide on the road. They would dearly love to steal one here at the Coliseum. Ali Ahmed had it swatted away, but it bounces now open floor and picked up by Morty. He has it tapped away from by Terry Thomas. Terry all the way. Nice defense, and he gets the bucket on the other end, claps the hands, and the crowd loves it.
Yeah, one of the best two-way guys in the league, shows why. And this game is full. This series is full of guys that are efficient and explosive both ways, as Brent Jennings comes to visit the broadcast booth a little bit over here. Everybody's good. No coffee spilled or water.
Well, I gotta say, great hands by Kent Wallace here.
Amazing.
As he grabbed that coffee and put the hand over top very quickly. But again, just a great pace here, a lot of energy.
And it did but we do have a casualty, and that is our score clock.
Well, we saved the coffee, we saved the donuts, but we didn't save the score clock, so we have a crew here frantically working to get that back up. So we are powered back up here, 8:25 to go. 7-4 is the score. Riptide in the lead. Malcolm Miller will inbound right in front of our broadcast position. And here's Horace Wormley.
Once again, Moncton showing that they have the best bench over here in the league. Players bench and broadcasting and scorekeeping bench.
Spinning with that ball is Morty in a crowd. Awkward looking shot, no good. Patillo with the rebound. Now here's AA, Anthony Anderson.
2 far more energetic defensive possessions, and Brent Jennings, who was a surprise starter for me, already replaced now by Jeremy Williams.
And that interior look there trying to find Patillo didn't work. Outlet for Malcolm Miller. He gets it back to Wormley. Wormley, dribble penetration into the paint off the glass. Shot didn't go. Corey Allman back the other way. Here's Terry with pace. Thomas to the rack, gets the bucket. He'll go to the line, and he'll get the and one. Terry Thomas doing what Terry Thomas does.
And that first primal scream of the day, it comes earlier in the game than usual by Terry, but he's into it. And yeah, once he gets to that right hand, it's over for you if you let him get there that deep. And if you're gonna hit him, you better make sure he doesn't get that ball up on the rim, because he's a great finisher. So mistake with that touch foul there on Terry in the open court.
And Terry converts. Terry, the leading scorer for the Moncton Magic, 19.8 points a game through the regular year for the Magic. And he's got this game now tied back up 7-all. 7:35 left to go. Quarter number 1, round 1, game 1 here. Best of 5, Riptide and the Magic. It's the battle of the 506. Look at Ahmed spinning against Patillo. Shot was off though, and Corey with the rebound.
And it looks like Patillo got away with one there. Ali Ahmed should have been at the line, I think, but lucky break for the Magic. But interesting that they put all that length. They're putting length on Malcolm Miller, and I think that's because they're concerned about his three-point shooting.
Terry Thomas from outside rolls it around, and Terry, he likes to tell everybody he's got the interior game, but he likes to remind you he's a shooter too.
Absolutely. That part of his game has really improved over his 3 seasons in the league. You got to respect him from the three-point line. That makes his dribble drive game all the more frightening. But the point I was making there for the Magic defensively was I was expecting a Terry Thomas, Malcolm Miller matchup kind of going both ways, but it looks like they put a little bit more length on Malcolm Miller. He's killed them from the three-point line. Trying to get a little more length on him, could bother his shot a little bit more from the perimeter maybe.
So Coach Nelson Taroba saw his team get out to an early 7-2 lead, but since then, It's been an 8-0 run for the Moncton Magic, and they've gone into a 10-7 lead in this opening quarter. Coach Joe Salerno having his meeting over there, and of course Taroba over on the St. John sideline. But we're not quite 5 minutes in, Dave, but you can certainly sense, we talked about it off the top, but you really can feel a step up in the intensity.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. And you could tell it in pregame when we did a pregame interview with Jeremy Williams, and while he was his usual bright and energetic and smiling self, there was just a little bit of that look in his eyes, a little bit more tense. The smile wasn't quite as big and wide. He had other things on his mind rather than joking around with me. He was very, very focused, and you could tell Al Stewart was just that little bit more verbose than usual, which is saying something for Al. These guys it's hype. They've been waiting a long time for this. It's why they signed here, and it's the real season for them.
Well, and we certainly saw in the first couple of games of the other series that, we referenced it, excuse me, down the stretch in the regular season, but all 8 teams that qualified for the playoffs, really, to use the cliche, don't sleep on any of them. We saw Windsor really extend the St. John's edge in that first game, going into overtime there. The Edge got the win, but again, Windsor played well. London has kind of had their way to this point with Niagara for the first 2 games, but the Island Storm, short-handed, the underdog certainly on paper against the Hurricanes, took one in game 1 there. So, it's lots of interesting things have been transpiring here through the first couple of days of the NBL playoffs.
And typically in 7-game series, the better team will win out. In a short 5-game series, it doesn't sound like much of a difference, but it really is. When these playoff series come around, 5 games is a lot different animal than 7.
And Isom,
unbelievable defense.
Great defense there, and that pass just before that from Ali Ahmed, he looked like Justin Verlander there firing a fastball into the corner. My goodness.
And that's 3 straight possessions now where St. John's had trouble just getting a shot off. So Moncton's really stepped it up on that end after a couple of shaky possessions to begin the game.
Terry Thomas gives it to Jeremy Williams. Williams spins in the paint, puts the ball up against 2 defenders. Shot didn't go. Ali Ahmed was there, good positioning to grab that rebound. And here is the speedy Horace Wormley. Gets it inside to Mo Isom, puts that little floater up, goes to the right hand, tapped off the cylinder, and back the other way come the Magic.
Smart, unselfish play from Patillo there, knocking that off.
Williams in the corner, bangs it in. Jay Will, his first thrill.
And that's not his most comfortable spot for the 3, but that's a good sign when Jay Will gets 1 to go, and he looked really confident doing it on that rise and fire from the corner.
5:50 to go in this opening quarter, 13-7 now, as it's a bucket there from Morty. I was about to talk about the run that the Magic have gone on, but Morty puts a stop to that with that tough-looking shot.
That's just great defense being overcome by better offense. Morty with a tough finish. AA right in his ear.
Here's an interesting matchup. Ahmed on Patillo. Patillo just steps back, sees the opening. Not quite enough on the shot as it went off the near side of the rim. Rebounded by the Riptide. Morty. He'll just slow it down. Goes over on that far wing. Morty all the way outside to Isom, and thank goodness Isom had the wingspan there as he was able to corral that pass. Wormley into the much bigger Patillo. Patillo down to the deck. Inside again for Ahmed, and Ahmed, he doesn't get the bucket, but he'll go to the line and shoot a couple.
Yeah, and you see how good, when it comes down to defending St. John, the first place you got to start is their screen roll game, because Horace Wormley's so good at that on one side, and when he swings it, Jeremiah Morty can also go to work on the opposite wing. So the key to the Magic has always been, and Coach Salerno's talked about it, is not letting Wormley get in his line of sight. Don't let him see coming off that screen. If he gets daylight, he's so small and quick. He can get into those areas real, and by the time you turn around, he's in the paint and creating something for himself or kicking to one of those shooters. So they just want to clog up his line of vision off those screen rolls. They've done a good job so far.
Ahmed 2 of 2 on that trip, 13-11 Magic lead. That foul was on Patillo, his first. Our officiating crew here this afternoon, Paul Hansen, Brian States, and Dave McGrattan. Here's Corey Allman stepping back, faking the shot, tried to bounce it inside, somehow got it back, and then zips it to Patillo. Patillo, he's usually quite comfortable from there, but he hasn't quite found his range from the floor just yet.
Yeah, he's got that soft jumper, but he'd be better served, I think, going to work on Ahmed using his length and his strength and his athleticism. And that is a questionable call there.
Speaking of length, Ahmed again, and he's been trying to live in the paint in this first quarter, has Ali Ahmed, 35 in blue for the St. John Riptide.
Yeah, and he's a solid defender, but Juan Patillo, and it's no shot against Ahmed, Juan Patillo has the athleticism, explosiveness advantage on just about anybody he's matched up with in this league, save a couple, 3 guys. So no shame in that, but Patillo's got to use that advantage, and Ahmed's doing a good job of hanging off and making him make a couple shots. He made his first one, missed the last 2, but we'll see. I'm sure Patillo trying to go to work a little bit more in the post, back him in there.
That foul on Moncton was against Jeremy Williams. That's his first. Taekwon Gord checks into the game now. Ali Ahmed takes a seat. Patillo to the bench for the Magic, and Denzel Taylor sees his first action here in the playoffs. 5 in white for the Moncton Magic. 13 all. We are tied with 4:22 to go in the quarter. Williams open. Shot doesn't drop. Rebounded by Gord, who just checked into the game. And here comes Horace Wormley. Gets a little push from Allman. No problem for Horace, though. And Horace in a crowd. One step too many, and he travels, and it's a turnover for the Magic.
Little smile on his face looking at Taekwon Gord going, yeah, I had you. My bad.
Coach Taroba having a chat with the official as the play goes down to the other end of the floor. Terry Thomas, Malcolm Miller out on him. Denzel Taylor there to help out as well. Thomas steps back, top of the key. Shot goes off the front of the iron, and there's Horace Wormley. He may be the most diminutive guy on the court, but that doesn't stop him from playing much bigger than he is. Over into the corner, Aaron Redpath, who checked in minutes ago. Look at Al Stewart. He's got Corey with him, but Al takes it all the way himself, and there's the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Al Stewart turning defense into offense.
And how about that challenge from Horace Wormley, not giving up on it, getting up there, trying to block that shot. You love these two when they play on the floor together. And Wormley, too. One thing that's underrated about him is the Magic turned the ball over again. One thing that's underrated about him, he's one of the 20, he's got one of the top 20 defensive rebounding numbers in the NBL from a 5'9", which is generous, I think, point guard. So he gets over 5 rebounds a game. He's in that club. Why he's so I put kind of him and Al together. These two small guys that aren't afraid to stick their nose in on that end and come away with some boards.
So Al Stewart with the ball in his hands now. Jason Caliste, one 3-point expert, goes out. Corey Allman, and another one comes in. Jason Caliste, and Caliste in a crowd. He travels. Taekwon Gord and Aaron Redpath were there defensively and forced Jason to turn it over.
Yeah, really, when St. John goes to their bench with guys like Gord and Redpath, one thing they do not lose. There's no step down on the defensive end of the floor. That's a strength that they don't drop off at all.
Here's Redpath. Little between the leg dribble. Caliste over on him. He's in a crowd now. A little bit of a triple team there. Gord to Malcolm Miller. 9 seconds on the shot clock. Into the corner. And Isom steps out of bounds. And Coach Joe Salerno and the Magic bench like that.
Yeah, and that's the kind of turnover you see in today's basketball a lot more than you ever used to. Guys stepping out of bounds, catching a wide open pass out of bounds. These guys have such, and it sounds funny, but it's true. There's such a narrow spot for them to set up in that corner, and they frankly have such big feet that it is tough to kind of have be open there and still have get those feet set and knock it down. So you see that turnover a lot in today's ball with the emphasis on the 3-pointer.
2:39 left to go in the opening quarter. 15-13, 2-point lead for the Magic. Al Stewart in trouble on the baseline, down to the floor, tried to sweep it back. Possession will stay with the Magic. Into the game now.
And the Riptide playing super physical on that screen roll, running at the ball handler. And the Magic just aren't doing a quick enough job of making themselves open off of that, making themselves available off that next rotation for the ball handler to catch them.
Brandon Bowdry wearing 21 in blue. He's on the floor now for the Riptide. 12 seconds on the shot clock. Al Stewart to Caliste in a crowd. Williams, he hit one of them there before, and he hits another. Jay Will with a double thrill from the same spot for 3.
This time it was a 2. I must have had his foot on the line. They signaled a 2.
Maybe that's that big foot problem.
That big foot problem again. Although he's wearing a size 2 small sneakers, he said. He couldn't get some 14s. They're on order, so he had to go settle for 13s for this game. He was worried about breaking them in. He's doing a good job so far.
That rebound goes to Caliste. Under 2 minutes to play. 4-point lead for the Magic, 17-13. This is playoff basketball. The intensity has been ratcheted up. There is no question about it.
Yeah, we got some blood here on Jason Caliste. So he's going to have to be attended to, go out the game, and we'll see Marvell Wade for the first time.
So Caliste, he'll get some attention over on the bench. Marvell Waith, as you mentioned, 24 in white checks into the game. Marvell joined this team late in the season. Moncton made the trade for him, for his rights anyway, and by all accounts, there wasn't that much of a chance, we thought anyway, that Marvell was actually going to sign and play with this team, and then lo and behold, here he is, and he's been a great contributor, and you would think is going to be a very key performer for this Moncton Magic team in the playoffs.
Well, he walked in that building that first night and basically carried the Magic for parts of that fourth quarter, making big shots in a big game against London in a win here, so we know he's got the goods because we've seen it.
So Waith will inbound. 13 seconds on the shot clock for the Magic. Williams tried to palm that ball and get it inside to Marvell Waith, but it was picked off. Back the other way, Malcolm Miller with the nice lean and gets the pretty little bucket to go.
And that was a careless pass by Jay Willie, knew it right away. Smart though, sometimes you compound that by smacking a guy in a drive because you're frustrated. He was smart.
It was good hands by Marvin Binney that caused that turnover that sent Malcolm Miller back the other way, and now another turnover as Marvell Waith in the paint travels with it. So 17-15, the St. John Riptide back to within 2, under a minute and a half to go, 1:29 left on the clock.
And the priority for both teams is going to be ball handling, handling that ball and not being careless with it, because both teams being super physical on the ball handler. And yeah, we've already seen guys knocked off balance and traveling a couple times.
Redpath open, puts it up. Range was off, but it comes down into the hands of Bowdry. Fresh shot clock for the Riptide. Here's Gord. Taylor on him. Taekwon Gord steps back, off high, off the backboard. Al Stewart back up the floor now for the Magic. Coming up to 60 seconds left in the opening quarter. It's been a fun one. Terry Thomas takes it to the right side, down on the baseline, and he gets just challenged hard, and he went down very heavily to the floor, holding his face as he spins over onto his belly. Terry Thomas, he's an aggressive player, and he gets a nose for the basket, and I've called him the running back with the running back's mentality, but right there took the big physical challenge. He's up, good to see that he's okay.
And he went chest to chest there with Terry, or with Taekwon Gord did Terry, and he's a big boy to step in there, and Gord did a good job. He was just a little bit late, wasn't quite set yet, and that's why it was a good call. It was called a block, but yeah, you go face to his chest, and that's gonna be a bad outcome for you, and I think Terry needs to get the cobwebs out.
Yeah, well, Terry, no small guy, but Gord, as you said, 6'7", 215, and Taylor jams it down using his size.
And that's a great play call by the Magic, and Denzel did a great job. Screen, roll, and sometimes you get that screener is going to be the guy that's open if there's bad communication on the defensive end, and that's exactly what happened to the Riptide there.
So St. John trailing by 4. It's a 19-15 Magic lead. Miller took a cut in, dribble penetration into the paint, dishes it off there. Tried to get into the hands of Gord. Gord lost the handle, and it goes out of bounds, and Gord not at all happy. I think he was looking for a call. He's kind of talking to the official up the floor. However, it's Magic ball with 23 seconds to go.
You see when the Magic do a good job off that initial screen roll, St. John hasn't had that counter to go to off of it, other than Malcolm Miller creating shots for himself in that time. Just got stuck and turned it over.
Basically, shot clock, game clock, the same. Waith, 5 seconds on the shot, puts that up off the back of the iron. Denzel was there, not much time. Bowdry will just let the clock expire, so the first quarter comes to an end. 12 minutes in the books, Dave. It's a 19-15 lead for the Moncton Magic. They're up by 4. Lots to talk about, but from what you saw, what do you like, what do you don't like for both sides?
Well, it's kind of how we expected it to go here with the top 2 defensive teams in the league. I think matching up, you got to kind of figure the offenses will get loose at some point, but there's going to be some feeling out period. Both teams have a game plan. Moncton's is to bottle up that screen roll as best they can, give guys no daylight, which you're doing a good job at. And St. John's got to do, like I said, a better job of creating secondary offense out of that a little bit. They kind of got to the middle of the floor and created some open threes. They haven't been able to do that quite as much as this first quarter went on. Moncton made an adjustment, and as far as St. John goes, they just got to, I think, they're keying on Terry Thomas, and he got himself off a little bit, created a little bit of his own offense on the defensive end, which is always the fear with Terry if you're a Moncton opponent, is that he can create his own offense just out of playing solid defense, and he did that there once as well. So, you know, Jay Will came in and hit a couple shots, and Al Stewart and Denzel, as they do off the bench, provided some energy. So it's going to be here in the second quarter, St. John's second unit. Can they keep things within reach here against the Moncton second unit, which is a little bit deeper, a little bit more explosive offensively?
So in that first quarter, 19-15, Magic with the 4-point lead. Moncton shooting just over 44% from the field. St. John just over 33%. Leading scorers for the St. John Riptide, Malcolm Miller with 5, and then Mo Isom and Ali Ahmed with 4 apiece. Leading the way for the Moncton Magic, Terry Thomas with 8, and Jeremy Williams, Jay Will, with 5 of his own. And there's the kiss cam. Oh, she's on her phone. She wants no part of it. Oh, there it is. Came through at the end. I thought it was going to be another case of a phone ending a relationship.
Yeah. That was a happy ending. So another thing I look at, Scott, here too, when you look at the game so far, Malcolm Miller played the entire first quarter, and I was just going to say, are they going to give him a break here to start the second? And they are. When he's out, because they lean on him so much on both ends of the floor. When he's out, how do they match up with the Magic? And when does Coach Salerno come back with Terry Thomas while Malcolm's off the floor, give him a little bit of a break from going against one of the best defenders in the league in Mr. Miller?
So St. John Riptide trail by 4. They'll open up the second quarter, and inbounding it is Bowdry to Marvin Binney. We are underway, quarter number 2. Scott Squires, Dave Tingley, and our NBL Canada Moncton TV crew. Glad to have you with us here at the Moncton Coliseum on a Sunday afternoon. It's game 1 of this best-of-5 series. It's the Battle of the 506. Also want to welcome in all of the viewers and fans of the St. John Riptide, wherever you're tuning the game. We're glad to have you on board and hope you're enjoying this broadcast, although you're probably not as enjoying it as much if it were the Riptide who were leading. Brent Jennings now into the game. Al Stewart thought about the shot. Binney right there defensively. Brent Jennings, the southpaw. Shot no good. Denzel Taylor taps the rebound to himself. Good play there by Denzel.
I think we've seen that once or twice before this year.
New shot clock for the Magic. Marvell Waith calmly steps back, rolls it around the rim, and Bowdry gets the rebound, and he'll jog it up the floor. On that right wing side, takes it inside up, and they're going to say no basket, travel, and Bowdry pleading his case to Brian States, but Brian States is saying, hey, that's the call, let's get going.
Yeah, there was one extra one in there, a little bit extra hop from Bowdry. I think he got a little bump on there, but not physical enough to get a foul on the Magic for sure.
Al Stewart, the spark plug from Chicago, puts that looping shot up the rainbow, rolls around and goes down.
It's amazing how effective Al is, even though he does not take many of those shots. You don't see him throw a lot of shots up from the perimeter, and at the guard position, it's amazing how effective he still is, and there it is defensively as well.
Jennings off the defense gets the offense, and so often this Moncton Magic defense gets ratcheted up, and it more often than not leads to fast break points, and that's what we saw there, and that's what Coach Taroba from the Riptide saw, and he wants a timeout.
One of the biggest weapons that the Moncton Magic has nothing to do with the offensive end of the floor. It's the defensive end of the floor. When you try to get Denzel Taylor and Al Stewart in a screen roll, I'd love to see the percentage of turnovers off of offense going against a Denzel-Al combination defensively on the screen and roll. They are just so effective. Al's so physical with the ball handler, and Denzel is he's got such good instincts of when to hedge on that ball handler and when to recover to his own guy. Gets his hands on so many balls.
And a lot of times you'll see with the Moncton Magic, you know, we talk about how veteran their team is as we see Coach Taroba chatting things over with the St. John Riptide. But quite often during timeouts, particularly if it's the road team calling it, on the Moncton bench during those timeouts, you'll see the coaching staff away from the bench out on the floor having a little huddle themselves, and the team kind of is leading their own huddle, their own timeout, and then the coaches talk it over. They come in for the last few seconds. But that's an interesting dynamic we've kind of seen with this Magic team all season.
Yeah, it's how they run their timeouts. Coach Salerno goes gets a little feedback from his assistants that he trusts, these guys on the bench, and then got such a veteran squad. They kind of have their own communication that they can do themselves, and then so they can combine. he knows what the veteran lineup that he's got. They can work some stuff out for themselves, and they can all kind of add on to each other what they see on the floor. So, absolutely.
So put your coaching hat on for a second. We saw that defensive clamp down, the transition basket, and then the Taroba timeout. What do you think Taroba's message was to his team? Well,
Magic are getting their hands on a lot of stuff. So I think he's going to make some sort of an adjustment of how he initiates the offense, because they're getting a lot of hands on ball handlers as they try to squeeze through tight areas, and a lot of hands on these passes off the screen. So he's going to make some sort of adjustment to the screen and roll, and we'll see what it is.
10 seconds on the shot clock for the Riptide. Marvell Waith putting the defense on Wormley. And they're going to call Al for the push. And Al just kind of held his position, frozen, and just kind of stared at the referee. And he hasn't moved from that exact spot where he had the foul called.
That was, I'm not one for putting too fine a point on referee calls, but that one was a gift for St. John.
And Al Stewart, coming over to defend on Wormley, was still having a chat with the official.
It's terrible.
Bowdry from the other side, shot off the front of the rim. Rebound comes down. Waith had it off the fingertips for a minute, but then corrals it. Here's Al Stewart with that ball now, gives it off to the wing for Waith. Watching him is Mo Weisom. Waith down to the baseline, kicks it back out to Al Stewart.
Yeah.
And another travel we've seen. Probably the only part of this game for both teams that's kind of broken down a little bit are the turnovers from travels.
Yeah, it's been footwork problems so far. It's most travels we've seen in a half, I think, all year for sure. But yeah, both teams are going to want to clean things up. And St. John's given Moncton kind of with all the turnovers and the missed shots, they've given some opportunities here for Moncton to spread the lead, but they haven't taken advantage just yet.
So the Riptide will work that ball around. Here's Ahmed up high. Just hands it off to Wormley. He puts it up, and Horace Wormley, that might have been from downtown St. John. He hits the triple.
Yeah, he can be deadly on that shot. He was really struggling in the low 30s about a quarter way through the season, but since then really picked it up, and he's almost 40% now for the year.
Marvell Waith gets it off there for Brent Jennings. He backs the defender in, has it stripped away, and now it's the Riptide with the defense. Wormley all the way. So now it's the Riptide using the defense to turn into offense, and it's Wormley in transition, gets the bucket, and it's back to a three-point game. 23-20, Moncton Magic leading here, 9:04 to go in the half. Waith sees the opening, shot's no good, and getting the rebound is Malcolm Miller. Here come the Riptide again now, who are on a bit of a run. Horace Wormley through a crowd. The gingerbread man tried to go in against Denzel Taylor, and Denzel just swatted it away.
Denzel and Horace had a friendly chat after that swat. And Denzel's going to go to the bench, but he's been super effective. I think we'll see Denzel again before long.
Jeremy Williams and Juan Patillo check back into the game for the Moncton Magic. Wormley inbound, 16 on the shot clock, so lots of time. Mo Weisom steps in baseline, floats it up, no good. Jay Will with the rebound, and here comes Al Stewart. Corey dialing it up. Front of the rim. Rebound tapped into the hands of the Riptide. Here comes Wormley. He'll bring it over the timeline. St. John trying to get back now. It's a one-possession game. Ahmed through the paint, left-handed in. Smooth move there for Ali Ahmed.
Yeah, and they've made a little adjustment off that screen roll. First, they tried to go get a switch and go to the post with a big to little, and that time Horace just didn't hold it. Just got rid of it real quick, and now we're going to see another turnover on an offensive foul going the other way.
And that's the block on Jeremy Williams, so another foul on Jay Will. That's his second. And again, with the pickup of intensity in playoff basketball, you want to pay even closer attention to players who start to rack up the fouls.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to get – the good thing is for both these teams, they go deep into the bench. They have confidence in those guys. So once guys get to 2 and 3 fouls, there's a guy that comes in that's pretty much a copy of the guy you're taking out. They're deep at every position.
Terry Thomas getting ready to check back into the game. He comes over to the scorer's table, takes a seat. Meanwhile, Wormley works it in, tried to feed it over, and Joe Salerno was making the travel call even before their officials did.
How many travels have we had so far? Pack your bags. You're traveling, as my old friend and referee in the area, Don Grant, used to say at our games.
I'm counting at least 5 or 6, and that's just a very loose count.
I think we're actually at more than that. I had a 7 in my head is how many of these have been, but I mean, yeah, but it's the pressure from both defenses.
Jeremy Williams over to Corey in the corner. Corey puts it up, and Corey can get out the phone and make the long distance call. Ring, ring, says Corey. Somebody answer.
Yeah, you saw he had a look of shock on his face when that first one didn't go down from the same spot. You could tell he's feeling good about it. And that next one, you just kind of knew it was going to go in.
Malcolm Miller, he can hit the three, decides to penetrate inside, gives it off to Ahmed, and Ali Ahmed, such a presence in the post for the Riptide, is 35 in blue, and another 2 points for Ahmed.
And that's another adjustment they made. They've been keeping that guy on that screen roll in the far corner. That time, Malcolm Miller came to the ball.
And Juan Patillo takes his frustration out on the rim. The nice feed inside and the easy jam for JP Juan Patillo.
R.I.P. for the rim on that. The double pump, too.
Malcolm Miller outside. He's got that range, and he hits it there. And that is a very big weapon for the Riptide. Malcolm Miller from outside the arc.
Yeah, Coach Salerno said to Jay Will, you got to stay home. You got to stay home.
1 point lead, 28-27. 6:41 to go in this second quarter. Patillo on Ahmed. Good matchup there. Patillo takes it in strong, leans into Ahmed. Ahmed, not much else he could do defensively there, Dave.
Well, that's what I was talking about. I mean, he puts that ball on the floor. He doesn't need any space. I mean, he doesn't need to put his shoulder down and commit offensive fouls for you to have him bounce off that big body. He's so powerful. So gets his shoulder into Ahmed and lays it in.
Malcolm Miller has that ball up high, tried to feed it inside, but there's the defense. Terry bounce pass, tried to get it to Williams. Malcolm Miller intercepts. Mo Isom stops, puts the shot up, no good. Flying in to get the rebound is Williams as he goes up over top of Ahmed. And Ali Ahmed wore Jeremy Williams as a cape there for about 2 seconds.
And on that last play there, Terry Thomas, not only was it a careless pass, it was an unnecessary pass. He had a 3-on-2. He could have kept that ball going to the middle and found Jay Will on the wing once Jay Will made himself a little more available. So a careless turnover there, and you can't afford these against St. John. They're going to turn you over enough times themselves in the half court. You don't need to turn it over on a break.
Fresh shot clock, and inside, and there's Patillo. Look at the big man spin across midcourt. Juan Patillo, corner. Terry Thomas puts it up. Terry, deadly from the corner.
And look at that. Look at the play from Patillo. That's 2 times in a row. Working hard to get around Ali Ahmed, not give him that, and intercept that interior pass, and then putting the ball on the floor and making a play. Dropping dimes, Patillo.
5:38 to go in the half. Warmly kicks it outside to Jeremiah Morty. Puts it on the floor, gives it off to the corner, and Mo Isom. I think he got hindered there, as that is not a Mo Isom type shot there, as it goes off the side of the backboard.
And I'm really encouraged by the energy that Juan Patillo's showing on the defensive end. He's not as passive as he has been, whether it's a comfort level or whether he's playoff times here and now I'm turning it up a notch. I don't know what it is, but he's energetic, and it's not just on the offensive end of the floor with that jam. He's been a hassle for Ali Ahmed in the post.
Ahmed, speaking of, goes over to the bench. Taquane Gord back into the game. He wears 10 in blue for the Riptide. 13 seconds on the shot clock. 5:10 to go in the half. Look at Patillo, baseline. Tried to go underneath the basket. Gets it right back. Juan Patillo right now is invested in this game. Went off a St. John player, so no over and back. And Terry Thomas again down to the floor, and this time it was up against Malcolm Miller as the bodies continue to fly.
Terry Thomas has left his share of skin on the Moncton Coliseum floor this year, more than anyone else.
Well, if this keeps up, there's going to be more casualties in this game than there is in a round of Fortnite. Just thought I'd make a reference for the young people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, obviously, because I didn't get the reference. So I'm laughing at myself here for. Well, I'll look it up.
When you got a 19-year-old and a 12-year-old with an Xbox One, you know what Fortnite is.
All right.
And for those of you listening in who have no idea, I'm sure if you Google it, you'll know exactly what Fortnite is. Pre-DQ, pretty darn quick. 4:57 left to go in the half. It's a 32-27 lead for the Moncton Magic.
A couple shout-outs I'll give here. One to our host, Mark Crandall, who's hosting the games here now.
And this young man is one heck of a player, Brandon Fields.
Oh, yes.
He plays basketball for the Holland College Hurricanes. I actually had the pleasure of calling the Holland College games during the ACAA playoffs in Truro. And an absolutely dynamic player, an all-Canadian, and a tremendous basketball player is Brandon Fields.
And so shout out to our host Mark Crandall. I went to Riverview High School with him, and he was a football player and is still involved in the sport, and couldn't help himself but make fun of the weak basketball players with our touch fouls and not allowed tackling. And now here he is in this building as the host of the Magic, and I've given him never-ending grief. But he, to his credit, after his first foray into the Coliseum hosting, he turned right around on the sport. He brings his kids every game. He's going to be a season ticket holder next year, he said, if he's not hosting, so turn him right around.
Well, and speaking of kids, they were just giving a shout-out to some of the teams here, the Moncton Mustangs and some of the other teams with Moncton Minor Basketball. Moncton Minor Basketball has been a tremendous supporter of the Moncton Magic all season long, and it's great to see the young basketball players so invested in the pro game here in Moncton.
And the organization purchasing tickets for a block of tickets for every home game during the playoffs as well, so supporting the team, and yeah, we're always more than willing to support them right back.
Kenny Otieno, 15 in blue, seeing his first action here for the Riptide. Under 5 minutes to play in the half. It's a 5-point lead for the Magic, 32-27. Scott Squires, Dave Tingley, and our Moncton Magic TV crew bringing you this action here of game one of this first-round playoff series between the Riptide and the Magic. Moncton and St. John, the battle of the 506. Malcolm Miller over to Jeremiah Morty. Corey Allman D'ing up on him. Morty, bounce pass into Gord. Gord spins against Williams, and another travel.
Yep. An underrated part of this game so far, too, I want to point out, because I'm thinking of it now. Jeremiah Morty's been pretty silent on the offensive end of the floor, but his work defensively on Corey Allman, on those pin-down screens that Moncton loves to run, bringing Corey right to left across and get him some open shots. Moncton hasn't been able to go there. Morty's been in his grill.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Terry out high, gives it to Corey from the wing. Corey Allman, calm, cool, and calling long distance.
And on cue, Corey says, I'm going to get loose right here, but he ran off that screen, and Morty's really upset. He got knocked to the floor, felt it was an illegal screen that gave Corey the opening that time.
Morty runs into his own man, Gord, somehow frees himself up. Over to Otieno now. Gord, quick kick out to Morty from outside. Rattles around, doesn't drop, and the rebound goes to Patillo. 3:46 to go. Here's Corey from the other side. Corey Allman El Fuego.
You just knew it. He was stepping into it. Patillo with another great decision in the open floor, handling the ball.
And when you see Corey going back on the defensive end, pulling up at those shorts on both legs, you know he's feeling it. That big jam chance, no good. Anderson back the other way. Here's Corey again. Rolls it around. Corey is feeling it. And Patillo says, give me the ball and let me feed the rim.
And we got an injury here down. Taekwon Gord hasn't gotten to his feet yet after going to the rim. And he's down. He's holding his face and hasn't moved much. It's a bit concerning here at this point. He went up for the jam, and Jay Will got up and challenged him. No foul call. Looked like Jay Will got a lot of the ball, but so a little concern here for Gord. He hasn't rolled over yet.
So Gord being attended to underneath the basket to our left, screen left as well.
Yeah, and now Miller and Patillo. Now somebody's got to get a hold of Juan Patillo. Somebody's got to get a hold of Juan Patillo.
Well, you talk about the intensity. It's playoff basketball. Everything on all levels is ratcheted up. Every point takes on a bigger theme. Every foul takes on a bigger theme. And Horace Wormley, you're right. He is doing the right thing. He is separating his guys. And Malcolm Miller is still giving the stank eye back toward Patillo and the Moncton bench. And it is on in game one.
Look out. Terry, it started with Terry Thomas down there and Malcolm Miller and look, everybody was concerned about Gord and they were going over, but the two teams together, once they got close together, there was some chatting, and it started with Terry and Malcolm Miller. And you're right, Malcolm, sideways glance to end all sideways glances as they went to the bench. But yeah, Horace Wormley, you see, got right in there and basically pushed each and every one of his guys individually back to the bench.
So to our left, screen left, the Moncton Magic have come off of the huddle now, and Patillo and Allman are having a little chat. And to our right, Coach Nelson Taroba chatting things over, and I'm sure also trying to lower the temperature just a little bit for his team. And it's good to see Taekwon Gord up off the floor and heading back to the bench, because yes, these two teams are intense, and yes, they're going at each other hard, but you never want to see anybody suffer any kind of an injury that's going to prevent them from playing.
Absolutely not, and he's been a big contributor for them since he came over. He struggled his first game in this building, we saw him, but he got his feet under him real quick and has been real key for them. Coach Stroba talked about how he loved all three of his additions at the deadline have been so good for him. Ali Ahmed and a little before the deadline, and Gord and Brandon Bowdry have all contributed in different ways, and he loves them.
Horace Wormley, nice little pass to ice him. He's wide open but can't hit the shot. And that rebound bounces around off a couple of hands, and it comes down to Corey Allman, who just gives way to Anthony Anderson. Under 3 minutes to go in the half. Anderson up there for Patillo at the rim. He didn't get the jam he wanted, but he gets the little touch, gets the bucket, and now the lead, the biggest of the game. It stands at 15, 42-27 Magic lead.
And
Wormley takes it himself inside.
This is the Juan Patillo that I think everybody expected to see once he signed here. He's just a monster on both ends of the floor so far in this half.
Anthony Anderson stumbles, kicks it out to Terry Thomas. Terry steps back top of the key, looking for somewhere to go with it. Marvell Waith runs a bit of a screen. Terry takes it baseline, tried to kick it outside, and that ball is turned over. Here's Horace Wormley with speed. Bounces it inside and turns it over.
Yeah, and just you don't expect, that's something you don't expect. Horace Wormley on a 2-on-1 to turn it over. Now they're overturning it. And how they could be overturning that is beyond me. It looked like it was nowhere near anybody's foot or hand, but
so that call goes the way of the St. John Riptide. 2:18 left to go in the half, 42-27. And don't go anywhere. Right at the end of the half, I will have a chat, quick one question, with the trailing coach. And this particular juncture, it would be Nelson Taroba. And he made sure, he said, if I'm going to come over, he said, make sure you remind me, because I'll forget.
Well, it's not a normal feature, but I love that we're doing it. Add a little extra to the fans for the playoff broadcasts. What defense we're seeing here from the Magic. Marvell Waith gets down on the floor.
Nowhere to go defensively. This Moncton Magic team, all season long, we've talked about it. It's been their trademark. It's defense, 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 and they've got the playoff intensity defense going here, at least in this first half.
It's a blanket. And I've been doing some player profiles for the website this week, and with the help of, generous help of Coach Salerno, giving me some feedback on how he feels about his guys. And every single guy, he says, there's been the comment, he is so underrated defensively. Every single guy so far, and you see why. These guys get after it.
Under 2 minutes left in the half. It's a 15-point advantage for the Magic, 42-27. Here's Marvell, puts that shot up. He hasn't quite found his range yet, but still he's got the defensive side going. Red path.
Yeah, he's been disruptive, and he's been on the boards too as Marvell. No shots have gone. Same thing for AA. Hasn't had a shot go down, but he's distributing well and defending like a demon.
Malcolm Miller floats it in. The little runner is no good, and Anthony Anderson zipping it up the floor. Almond in the corner. Corey's been good. Can't get that one to go. Denzel follow-up, and then the putback coming right behind. Marvell Waith. Johnny on the spot there, but again, just great effort by the Moncton Magic. The lead now up to 17.
Denzel just doing those Denzel things. Not going to be on the scoreboard and the score sheet for anything he did there, but he's the reason they got that easy lay-in. And Marvell, just a demon on the roll. He's going to get a foul call here, but.
Well, if there's one thing, regardless of the outcome of this game, if there's one thing that the St. John Riptide are going to know is that they were in a battle against a team that was bringing some defensive intensity.
Yeah, the St. John Riptide got the official #1 defense in the league designation, but it was so close, and I think Moncton wants to prove who's better once and for all on this end.
Isom puts it outside there, and that shot no good, and again, there's that defense. Little hop, skip, and jump from Anthony Anderson, takes it in strong toward the paint, kicks it out to Marvell, right back to Anthony. Horace Wormley right in his pocket. 12 seconds on the shot clock, 37 on the game clock. Anthony Anderson weaving with that ball again, gives it to Corey. Corey kicks it out to Marvell Waith, takes a step to his left, jump shot there, couldn't get the range, and Marvell wanted the call, as he says he was fouled when he put that shot up.
Hey, Rev, I'm not going to miss a shot like that. Come on, man. I must have gotten hit.
44-27. It's about a 3-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. Yeah, 17 on the shot, 20 on the game.
St. John will try to hold it here late enough where Moncton doesn't have a chance to go the other way. They'll treat it like it's like they're holding for the last one here.
So again, just a reminder, I'll chat with Nelson Taroba as quick as we can at the end of this half. Wormley outside, rolls it around, and that's a big three for the Riptide.
And Magic aren't going to get a shot, but Magic can't be frustrated with that. That's just a guy making a tough shot at the end of a really well-played defensive half.
So stand by, I'm going to grab Coach Taroba, and we'll get his thoughts on that first half. 44-30, it's the Magic in the lead. I'll be right back with Coach Taroba. Back with Coach Nelson Taroba from the St. John Riptide. Coach, 44-30, Magic lead. You guys are down by 14. You had a good start in the opening quarter, got up 7-2, but then Moncton really kind of put the defensive pressure on. Turnovers have been going for both sides here. What adjustments are you going to have to make for your guys at the half?
I think the main thing is we've got to move the ball, and when you think you need to do more, you need to do less. So share the ball, get off it, don't hold the ball, don't try to do everything by yourself, and we've got to get more player movement, more ball movement, harder cutting, but we've got to move the ball more, and we can't attack a stationary defense, and we can't attack a defense that's got a square foot position on us. That's what we're trying to do too much by ourselves, and that's really the name of the game.
Final thing before we let you go, we saw Taquane Gord go down there and was down for quite a while. He came back to the bench. How's he doing?
I'm sure he's fine.
Coach, appreciate this. Good luck second half.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's Coach Nelson Taroba. His team down by 14. We'll be back with the second half in just a little bit. Here Joining me is proud St. FX alum and assistant coach with the Moncton Magic, Todd McKillop. Coach, a pretty good first half for you guys. You know, first game of the playoffs at home, you shot just under 50%. The defensive intensity was there for the Moncton Magic. But when you were talking to the guys in the dressing room, what was your message in terms of one or two things that you want to see them do better, if there is that, in that second half?
Well, we want to keep up the defensive intensity, have a little better rotation on some of the pick and rolls up top, but we want to keep playing with that energy that we're playing on defense. The other end of the floor, we want to get a little more flow, get a little more downhill, get the ball into the paint, make them react, and then play out of it a little more.
And final thing before we let you back to the huddle, there's no question that you can feel the ratcheting up of the intensity. How much are you seeing that on the sideline from the guys?
The bench is into it, the guys into it. Marvell diving on the bar in the corner. Haven't seen him dive yet this year, but it's playoff time, so at playoff times, guys bring it. And then everybody's bringing it. The bench is into it, coach is into it, everybody's into it.
Coach Todd McKillop, we appreciate this. Good luck in the second half.
All right, perfect, thanks.
We'll be back with the second half in just a minute.
Perfect.
Thanks, Coach. We are just about set for the second half of action here between the St. John Riptide, the visitors, taking on the home side Moncton Magic. Scott Squires, Dave Tingley, bringing you this NBL Canada action on Moncton Magic TV. We are at the Moncton Coliseum. It's game one of round one of the playoffs for these two teams. And Dave, it's 44-30 for the Moncton Magic after one half of play. And I just spoke to Coach Todd McKillop and I said, look, you guys shot well from the floor, just under 50%. You got the defensive intensity going, and he said, and I asked him, I said, you know, what, if anything, do you want to do better? He said, well, we want to keep that defensive intensity up, but the other thing he said was he wants to see a little better flow offensively on the offensive side for the Magic.
Yeah, and I think that's a byproduct of facing the Riptide, who are great. And I talked a little bit about a couple of things that they did. I mean, Jeremiah Morty all over Corey Allman, and Corey ended up getting loose, shaking loose for a couple threes there. He's 3 for 6, but I mean, those are really the only opportunities he's had. I mean, Morty has really clamped down on, so good on Corey for taking advantage of the little openings that he's given him. But I mean, St. John's getting a lot of deflections. They're making things tough. There was a stretch there where Moncton had a tough time even getting a shot off there, a few possessions, but then Moncton turned the tables in the last. That last part of the second quarter was just, they were blanketed, and they were lucky to get to 30. They were bailed out by a couple of tough shots. And we'll go to the Uttertown scoreboard before we get the second half started here. And in game two in St. John's, Windsor Express up 33-31, 8:30 left in the second quarter.
And then coming up later on, I think.
Yeah, we'll go to the schedule. There is another game starting later on as well, absolutely. We'll go to the scores and schedules here. Paige, yeah, the Island and Halifax are about to get started down in Halifax in game two, and a huge game. Unexpectedly, the Storm came charging out to a huge lead, and the impressive part, we talked about that, of game one with Island and Halifax, was that Halifax came charging back to within 2 with 4 minutes left, and you would assume they would pass them, but Island held on for the lead, and that was game one there. Here's game one here, underway in the second half.
Moncton Magic wearing their home whites, now going right to left on your screen. The St. John Riptide and the Road Blues now left to right. And we are underway in the second half. It's a 14-point lead for the Magic, 44-30. And Corey opens up with the jump shot. That's no good. Redpath with the rebound for the Riptide.
Good shot for the Magic out of the opening. It's interesting that he went back to the same starting lineup. Brent Jennings struggled a little bit with his shot. You might have thought maybe go to, but he's sticking with the starting lineup for defense and length.
Isom got it down low for Ali Ahmed. He goes up against Patillo. We've seen that matchup for most of this game, and Ahmed gets the better of Juan Patillo there.
Yeah, Ahmed did a good job with his footwork there. Actually got his body in and moved Juan Patillo off of his spot. Impressive work by Ahmed.
Magic back the other way. And shot put up from the outside off the front of the rim. Again, Juan, he's had the power game inside, hasn't quite found the stroke from the floor just yet. Good ball movement here coming from the Riptide. Malcolm Miller steps in, tried to lob it inside, and Juan Patillo says, not on my watch, gobbles it up and puts it up ahead for Anderson, who comes onto this near side for Corey Allman.
That's 4 steals now for Patillo. He's just tremendous at that end of the floor tonight.
And look at that feed from Jennings to Patillo, and the smooth-looking Patillo just calmly went to the right hand and up off glass.
That's not an easy finish either. Reverse off a lob, not coming down with it, but Patillo's got great soft hands.
Malcolm
finishing skills.
Miller tries to take it inside against the defense of Jennings, and there's that defensive pressure again. Jennings to Corey from the outside. Corey Allman one more time. Get the operator on the line.
And as prevalent as a three-pointer is in today's game, that's still an awkward kind of feeling when you're back as a defender. You don't expect him to fade out to the three-point line on a break like that, but he's not afraid to take it and make it.
Under 10 minutes to go here, third quarter. So we are just in the early stages. Anthony Anderson again defensively with the hands, and Moncton right now letting their defense set the tone. 49-32, 17-point lead for Moncton.
You look at the stats, Anthony Anderson is scoreless right now and 0 for 1 from the floor, and has been very, very effective despite that because of all the deflections he's gotten on the defensive end. That's 5 or 6 times he's caused, if not directly the turnover, led to it with his intense defensive effort.
Lots of ball movement here, and Brent Jennings takes it inside with the little move in the paint. Brent Jennings, he might not have the shot going outside, but a good 2-point play there. And there's the steal. Here comes Terry. Lucky 13, and he misses the dunk. Maybe too much time to think about it for Terry Thomas. Back the other way, Malcolm Miller misses the shot, and that's going to be in the back of Terry's mind. He's going to want to make up for that later on. Terry Thomas, you will not see that very often.
And he had a smile on his face at half court after he picked off the pass. He was pretty confident.
Anthony Anderson scoops it up under and in, double A with a bucket. St. John back the other way now. Underneath it's Morty, and he gets hampered there as Jennings was on the baseline defensively.
That was vintage double A on that previous one. We haven't seen it very often. He hasn't gotten the opportunities, but he's so patient, and he doesn't care is the biggest thing with him right now. He doesn't care what his point production is. We've seen it go, and fans that followed Magic all year, they know this. About halfway through the year, the Magic were struggling a little bit offensively. They completely overhauled their starting lineup, made Double A the starting point guard, made Al the super sub off the bench, Al Stewart, and inserted Corey Allman into that starting lineup, and it just supercharged this team. And Double A's scoring at the time, he was in the top 10 in the league at about 20 a game. Since then, it's dropped precipitously down to 12, 13 points a game. But you see him complain? No, doesn't say a word. Loves the role, embraces it. He's a playmaker, he's a defender, he's a primary ball handler, and he's happy to do it because it makes the team better, and it's showing today again.
Jeremiah Morty 1 for 2 on his first trip to the line. He's got 3 points on the afternoon for the Riptide. Anderson has it stripped away as he went into a wall of blue. Horace Wormley, look at him go. The gingerbread man can't catch me, says Horace Wormley, and puts it off the glass.
And that's why the more effective play in that scenario is to wrap him up, take that foul, and make St. John side it out, because in the open floor, he's a terror.
Corey, he likes it. Off the back of the rim that time, too strong. Ali Ahmed with the rebound. Terry was hampering him. Horace Wormley brings it over now. Looking for somewhere to go, give it to Morty. Morty will swing it out high. Anderson watching him, bounces inside to Ahmed, and Ali Ahmed calmly off the glass and in, much to the delight of the St. John Riptide fans. And I should mention, a very nice contingent actually of Riptide fans here in attendance today, David.
Yeah, they travel well during the regular season, so of course they're going to have a little bit of a bigger presence here today. And yeah, there's some guys that have gotten some floor seats here right by the Riptide bench that are into it.
53-37, Magic lead with 7:45 to go in the third quarter. Anthony got into the air. Jennings, he wants that, and Brent Jennings, there's the smooth southpaw stroke.
Yeah, and he saw one go in with that pretty baseline move, and we've talked about it a lot. When a scorer just has to see that ball go in, whether it's a layup or a free throw or whatever, and sometimes it unlocks his perimeter game, and BJ's been struggling from out there, but that was smooth and comfortable.
Wormley takes it into the paint, tries to penetrate through that wall of white, and no way, say the Magic. Anderson to Corey, bounces it right back to Anthony, steps outside. Anthony couldn't get enough on that shot, rebounded by Ahmed, and he sends Malcolm Miller away for the Riptide. Miller open, steps into it, leans in, shot's no good, and the rebound bounces off of a couple of Magic players, and it'll stay with the Riptide.
Yeah, Jennings and Juan both thought they were going against a defender there and knocked it off each other, but better have too many guys going to the glass than too few.
Wormley with that ball now, inbounding it, and Malcolm Miller almost at half court. Brent Jennings now, little screen by Ahmed. Malcolm Miller kicks it over to the corner, Isom all the way up high. Morty hits it, Jeremiah Morty. Big shot there for the Riptide.
Yeah, great pass from Isom. He got the ball in the corner. It was a tough pass to handle, but he's still diagonal, right on the money to Morty in the shooting pocket.
Well, the native of Valley Stream, New York, put one in there, and Terry Thomas takes it in strong.
You can't let Carey get to his right hand. You just can't. It spells disaster every time.
18-point lead for the Magic. 6:24 to go in the third quarter. Wormley bounces it into Ahmed. He's been a force in there, and Terry Thomas climbs the ladder to swat that attempt from Ahmed away.
And that has been too easy so far in this half. The one thing that St. John does have going for them on the offensive end is that screen roll with Ahmed and with Horace Wormley. And I think Coach Salerno recognizes it. He's going to have a chat with Patillo about an adjustment here and go with Denzel to guard that screen and roll, hopefully a little bit more effectively.
So Juan Patillo heads to the bench. Denzel Taylor back onto the floor. Ahmed from the line, looking to shave into this 18-point lead. He hits the first. That makes it 58-41. The Magic have gotten into a double-digit lead early in that first half, and they've kind of maintained that throughout much of this game. And Ahmed, 2 of 2 from that trip, so Ali Ahmed doing everything he can. He's been great here this afternoon for the Riptide, has 35 in blue, Ali Ahmed. Magic now in the offensive set. Corey Ahmed, look at Morty. Aggressive defense there. Morty gives it to Thomas. Terry puts the shot up, scoops it up and in. It comes right back to the Magic.
And Denzel Taylor again.
Terry kicks to the corner. Brent Jennings for 3, too strong. Right into the hands of Ali Ahmed. Riptide back up the floor. Wormley takes a look, stops, puts it on the floor, penetrates inside with that dribble, swatted away. Denzel Taylor hovering over top of him like a hungry kid at a buffet.
How much do you love Denzel? This is what he brings the team. And I did another write-up that I did this week that Coach Salerno was generous about. Talked a lot about Denzel and about how he was his biggest surprise coming out of training camp, and he's continued to surprise all year long. A young Canadian guy coming right out of college and making his way into a key role on a veteran team like this is almost unheard of in the NBL, and he's earned every second of his playing time. He said he's got a difficult role. He wants him to play defense, he wants him to rebound, and he wants him to screen. And when you talk to a guy that's how you're going to earn your living with me, a lot of guys will bristle. Well, where's my shots going to come from? He doesn't care in the least. He loves defense, rebounding, and setting screens, and he leads the league in a couple of things. Well, he's second in the league in offensive rebounds, but I think he leads the league in some unofficial categories, like taking charges, like offensive fouls on screens, which sounds like a negative, but when you ask the opposing offenses in this league, when they see Denzel out of the corner of their eye coming up to set a screen, how that makes them feel, I think it's a little bit intimidating. And you see what he can do on the defensive end there. He steps out, he finds himself on the break a little bit, stuck on Horace Wormley. And what does he do? Takes it, keeps the guy in front of him. When he gets around him a little bit, can block the shot. So he's got such quick feet, great hands, and he's just a max effort guy in the role that he's been given by Coach Salerno.
We're in the media timeout there. You see Coach Nelson Taroba chatting things over with his team. They currently trail by 16 with 5:47 left to go in the third quarter.
And I need to get in one more shout out before I forget. If I do, I'll never hear the end of it. So shout out to Suzanne and Trevor Fisher, who I hope is listening out in Western Canada tonight, out in the prairies. Hope you guys are listening. Old friends from high school and from Mount Allison University, where I was a teammate with Suzanne back then. I called her Peachy, the Peach. And I hope you guys are listening, and I hope you enjoyed your shout out, and I hope you're enjoying myself and Scott on the call.
Well, we appreciate everybody who tunes into these broadcasts from both near and far. That's one of the really cool things about being able to provide this live stream from the Moncton Coliseum. You can literally go and hop on your computer, your mobile device, what have you, and watch some fantastic professional basketball action. We are back underway out of that timeout. That shot from the corner is no good from the hand of Malcolm Miller. Up the floor with it come the Moncton Magic. Anthony Anderson has that ball in his hands. Magic lead by 16. Anderson pushes off there from Wormley. Jason Caliste back into the contest now. Caliste with the new jersey. He's given up the 2. He's now wearing 0, so the blood-soaked jersey no good. And Caliste, he might keep the 0 because that equals 3.
And the look of frustration on Ali Ahmed when Caliste made that in his eye. He's like, come on, man. I'm out here challenging you 4 feet behind the three-point line. You make that on me?
Well, we know players are superstitious. Jason might just stick with that 0 jersey now, although he has had no problem hitting the outside shot all season long, shooting just below 50% from the three-point range.
The leader in the NBL in that percentage, and he walked in the gym on January 10th for a game here against Niagara and just started making shots.
And you know, sometimes when it's unexpected, you have a jersey change. Sometimes the name bar on the back is a piece of athletic tape with a marker writing your name, and that's what we're seeing right now with Jason Caliste. He's got the white athletic tape across the back of the jersey with C-A-L-L-I-S-T-E written, obviously in Sharpie across the back. And that is a keeper.
Beautiful penmanship by whoever did that as well.
Almost like calligraphy. It's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
61-43. Here is Caliste with the Sharpie name bar on the back of his jersey. He doesn't care, though. Terry Thomas for 3. Can't quite get that range. And Horace Wormley skies in to get the rebound. Horace now up the floor with some pace. Takes it in. Bounce pass to Ahmed. And that has been Ahmed's game all day long. In the paint, he has been good.
Yeah, Coach Salerno's getting a little bit frustrated.
Jeremy Williams for 3. And again, not able to get that range, but rebounded by the Magic. Jason Caliste steps back, Redpath watching him. Little screen run by Jeremy Williams. Caliste puts it up, back of the iron, tipped up high into the air, right into Thomas, and they're going to call the foul from behind as down to the deck went Mo Isom, and it's going to be a push on the Magic.
Yeah, and Coach Salerno goes over to Al Stewart as he checks into the game here. We're settling a little bit, he said. So I think he wants a little bit more movement. Let's get the ball back inside a little bit. Not settle for the perimeter stuff quite so quickly.
Horace Wormley, the floor general for this St. John Riptide team. 4:03 to go in the third quarter. Inside and there again, and Williams challenges this time. And Jeremy Williams comes over and challenges Ahmed, and then Coach Salerno comes right almost to half court and has words for Jeremy.
Yeah, he did. He rotated over there and almost got the block, but he missed the rotation, I think, or else he wouldn't have had to, I think is the point that Coach Salerno's trying to make here. And they're going to have a chat about it.
So Coach Salerno will be in the air of Jeremy Williams. He's got the whiteboard out, having a chat with Jay Will. Going over there, and I think he's explaining just that, David. So a good job by Coach Joe Salerno to do some in-game coaching here. Marvell Waith looking on as well. Meanwhile, it's Ali Ahmed at the free throw line, and Ahmed's been really good, David.
It's the one thing they've had. They've had the screen and roll to Ali Ahmed is the one thing they've had going. And I think, you know, Coach Salerno's like, we got to make him do something else. We got to do something here. I think he had a plan, and I don't think they've been executing it. So he drew it up kind of piece by piece there for Marvell Waith and Jeremy as one subbed in for the other.
And Ahmed right now, after hitting that first, he's 7 of 7 from the line, 17 points, leading scorer in the game. and now make it 18 points, 8 of 8 from the line. So he certainly has been the MVP for the Riptide through the first 2.5 quarters. Magic now have seen their lead dwindle to 14. It's as close as the Riptide have been in a while. Terry Thomas spins around in the paint, turnaround jump shot, rolls around the rim. Redpath rebounds it for the Riptide. Over into the corner, Mo Isom tries to dribble his way into the paint, turns it over. Here comes Marvell Waith. The long, lean Marvell Waith tried to go inside, and Horace Warmley commits the foul.
And who got his hands in there to cause trouble on that little play call for St. John? None other than Mr. Al Stewart, 2 times. So many times gets his hands in there and bothers it. Still the quickest guy, one of the quickest guys in the league, and definitely the quickest hands in the league still in his 7th year in the NBL.
Marvell Waith, 15 on the shot clock. Here's Caliste. Taylor runs the nice screen. Caliste takes it inside through a crowd, puts the shot up toward the basket. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. Nice challenge into the inside by Jason Caliste.
And what Denzel and Juan Patillo have been doing really well off of that play today is rolling hard every single time, because even if time after time after time you don't get the ball off that screen and roll, you make them play you, and a smart guy using the screen and roll like Jason Caliste will create an opportunity like that.
Nice to see Taquane Gord back into the game. He was injured late in that first half. 10 in blue for St. John, but he has checked back into the contest, so we are happy to see that.
Yeah, it sounded like he had a little bit of a stinger. He landed kind of on his hip and had a bit of a stinger there, a hip pointer maybe that is, I guess, the term for it, but yeah, he was able to shake it off, so good sign.
Jason Caliste, as he often does from the free throw line, does that little spin around his waist with the ball, and he hits that second, so the lead back up to 16, 63-47, 3:20 to go in the third quarter. Here comes Horace Warmley, the chant of defense, defense now rising in crescendo here at the Coliseum. Malcolm Miller takes it out high over on the wing, looking for somewhere to go with it, gives it off to Gord. Gord now to Warmley. 6 seconds on the shot clock. St. John's got to make a decision here. Warmley between his legs, he's got to get it up. Runs out of time, but he gets it back. Fresh shot clock as that ball went off the rim. Horace Warmley, baseline against Terry Thomas. Size mismatch there, but he gets it. Nice feed to Gord, and Gord underneath, no problem.
That was gorgeous with his left hand right off the dribble. Just a one-handed left hand on the money to Gord.
Here's Terry Thomas now. Off to Waith. Waith, back to Terry. Thomas drives into the lane, and Terry Thomas surrounded by Riptide players. Once again, Terry down to the floor, but back up quickly.
And he's being, the Magic have kind of decided to try to go back into the paint here a little bit. They talked about it when Al Stewart subbed on, about coach telling them they were settling a little bit, trying to force it back into that paint. Even if it feels kind of awkward, you got to try to force that ball down in there.
So Warmley takes a bit of a breather. Marvin Binney into the contest now to spell Warmley.
Pretty move.
And Caliste had it stripped away. And they're going to give that call to the Riptide. Aaron Redpath was pleading for it, and he does indeed. That call does go the way of the St. John Riptide. So they'll bring it up the floor. This is Binney, 63-49. You know the Riptide just want to get it down below double digits and then let things go where they may in the fourth quarter. Malcolm Miller, he can hit from out there, trying to find an opening. Gives it to Redpath. Redpath behind the back, down to the floor as Al Stewart was there defensively. And Redpath has to peel himself off the deck as that foul is going to go on Al.
Yeah, it was a good move by Redpath, kind of mirroring the move that Caliste did just down, but more successful. Al got kind of caught, and sometimes if it's an accidental trip, it doesn't matter. It's still a trip. You're going to get the foul call.
Redpath inbounds. Gord strikes it along the baseline, tried to feed it out, and there's Al Stewart. They were trying to feed Isom, but Al intercepts it. Al Stewart couldn't get it to roll around. Waith was there with the follow, and he went up over top of Isom. But again, good defense from Al Stewart. He just couldn't get the finish on the other end.
Yeah, and that's what Al wants to give. He wants to give that element of pace that you don't always get from Al. Double A is more of a deliberate guy. He probably wouldn't take that coast to coast. He'd wait for some help and try to make a play for someone. Al likes to push that pace, different look off the bench, just didn't get it to go.
And that foul was called on Terry Thomas, his first, and I think Everybody in the building was kind of puzzled as to why that call went on Terry, and Terry still over talking to the official now in the ear of Brian States.
Fans generously, I think, offering some glasses to the referees. I think that's really sweet of them. I'm trying to think.
It's a very compassionate crowd here at the Coliseum.
It's very sweet.
Denzel Taylor now gives it off to Terry. Terry tried to go into the crowd, and again, Terry takes some contact up around the face. Riptide go back the other way, and contact down there as the physicality starts to pick up.
And that is going to be a bone of contention here now for the fans and for Coach Salerno for the next couple of minutes.
Well, Coach Salerno was so enraged, maybe that's a bit of a strong word, but he was certainly upset about the non-call at the end there with Terry. When he was talking to the referee, Brian States, his gum actually flew out of his mouth. He had to pick it up off the floor.
Did he put it back in, Scott?
I'm not going to say because he's got two kids, and I don't want to set a bad example.
Let's not do that. My bigger problem, I didn't have any problem with Terry not getting the call down there. I mean, you force it in like that. That's a little bit ambitious of him to believe that he's gonna get a foul call there. I think at this end of the floor though, Isom lowered his shoulder and Denzel took it on the numbers. Now he wasn't standing still, but if you lower your shoulder like that, that's oftentimes given as an offensive foul, but wasn't. Made 1 out of 2, and they're hanging around here, Scott. It's an 11-point lead.
Yeah, that's 8 points now for Isom as it's 63-52. Terry Thomas gives it to Al Stewart. Binney on him. Down low for Denzel Taylor. Kicks it back out to Al. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Al's going to take it baseline. Tried to put it up. Denzel's there for the putback. Won't go. Battle underneath for the ball. Denzel gets it back. Waith is there. Bodies flying, and finally it comes down to number 15, Kenny Otieno. What a frantic sequence there.
Denzel making more and more opportunities for the team down there. Just wasn't able to finish a couple of easy ones though himself.
Well, here's the chance I mentioned earlier now. The Riptide can get it inside double digits, a psychological lift, but they can't get that shot as it goes off the bottom part of the mesh. Terry Thomas now looking over the floor. Under a minute to go, 50 seconds in the third quarter, 63-52. It's the playoffs, the intensity is high. 42 seconds in the quarter, 7 seconds on the shot clock, and they're gonna call the foul on Binney.
And you see what he does sometimes. He doesn't need a screen, he doesn't need a play call. He's just gonna put the ball on the floor and beat you, and you're gonna have to do something about it. And his quickness, if you can't keep him in front of him, if you can't keep him in front of you, it's gonna cause problems, and he's trying to turn up that pace a little bit that we talked about.
11-point lead. This is as close as the Riptide have been since early on in the first half. Calise bounces it inside to Denzel, and Denzel went hard into the defender, and I'm waiting to see what the call is here. Denzel comes over. Otieno was there. Otieno didn't have position, so the foul goes on Kenny.
And I'm not sure. I was trying to see what Coach Salerno was talking to the referees about a problem there. I'm not sure if he thought Denzel should get some shots or not because he was collecting himself, but that's a good call. It was on the floor.
So 14 on the shot clock as it's inbounded by the Magic. Binney right in the air of Al Stewart. Marvell Waith, the smooth one. Now it's Terry Thomas. Steps back outside the arc, puts the shot up. And Terry right now just not getting the range, but Denzel Taylor has the range, the rebound, and the little 2-foot jumper.
He just has that knack of getting position down there, getting himself around. He's so hard to block out. And that's why he's second in the league with over 3 offensive rebounds a game.
Shot clock is off, 4.2 in the quarter. And it'll stay with the Riptide, so that's how much they've got to work with here, 4.2 seconds. 65-52, 13-point lead for the Moncton Magic. Scott Squires, Dave Tingley, and our Moncton Magic TV crew bringing you this round 1, game 1 playoff action from the Moncton Coliseum, the Battle of the 506. Familiar foes going at it here, and that ball down to the floor, it'll go out of bounds. So about a second and a half comes off the clock, so 2.2 left.
Good communication there by the Magic. St. John had a kind of a brief glimpse of what they wanted, that third roll guy, but they communicated, got through all the screens.
2.2, not a lot of time. Basically got to get it in and get it off. And Marvell Waith will have none of it. He just steps in the middle, grabs the ball, and he'll just roll it back to the referee. So, David, we are 3/4 of the way through this regulation opening round playoff game, 65-52. The Riptide chipped away just a little bit. But again, a little bit of a case of the Magic bending, but at least to this point, not breaking.
No, and the turnovers have really piled up for St. John. More turnovers in that quarter, and it's really hamstrung them in getting any closer than 11 points that we saw there towards the end of that quarter. But 23 turnovers now through 3 quarters, and well above their season total. I alluded to this in our preview for this series, is when St. John's kind of got a number. Coach Taroba talked about the keys to them, and one of those keys is their ball movement. He talked about his guys. It's important that they play defense, that they communicate, that they hustle, but that they play with the pass. And when they reach a number of 24 assists in a game, they're 13-3 on the year, and right now they've only got 12 through 3 quarters.
This guy is shooting for $2,000. He's got 3 chances from half court. Ooh. He hasn't hit anything yet. Here's the last one for $2,000. No. So close.
He was online. He was online.
He just didn't have enough energy. That would have been a pretty easy payday had he hit one of those.
And Kent Squires, our man Kent over here, is pumping his fist. Happy man, doesn't have to pay out the $2,000 again.
That was close, but no, a Seagull makes it a little bit exciting between the third and fourth quarter.
Yes, Mark Crandall, basketball has quarters. Yes.
For those of you who are wondering at home, that's Dave once again referencing the in-game announcer here, handling all of the things that go on the court, in the stands, and around the periphery of the floor for the in-game experience for the fans in attendance here.
It comes from a football mentality. So to his credit, the last time he watched a basketball game before he started hosting here a few weeks ago, last time he watched it probably was 2 halves. So
it was probably back in the day when they used peach baskets.
Another shout out we got for our man who Chris Barnett, who brings his daughter down on the sidelines before every game to say hi to us, and he provided us a gorgeous picture of where he's looking out and drinking cervezas at El Dorado Seaside Suites in Mayan Riviera, and his view. I got a good view here courtside. I think he's got the only better view than we do today.
Well, first of all, for that shout out, the El Dorado Seaside Suites in the Mayan Riviera should perhaps provide us a week's worth of lodging.
At least.
And apparently, Chris is only listening to you, David.
Yeah, not even referencing my friend. So give everybody your handle so Chris will reference you next time.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, anybody, you know what? We love the interaction via social media. Certainly Twitter is the easiest way to do that. Mine is Scott_FFM. That's 2 F's and an M for my company.
Like Magic?
Like Magic or Firm Foundation Media. So Scott_FFM on Twitter. And yours is?
I'm Hoops Tingley. Pretty simple.
And it's pretty simple here for the Riptide. They've got to keep chipping away at this lead and get it under double digits and then see where things go from there. Fourth quarter underway, 65-52, 13-point advantage for the Moncton Magic. Riptide with Wormley. Over to Malcolm Miller. Miller, he's comfortable. Can't get that shot to drop, though, and Malcolm Miller hasn't quite been the thorn in the side of the Magic that he has been through the regular season.
No, they've done a great job on him, and that length that they're putting on him in Waith or Brent Jennings at times, or Jeremy Williams has really bothered him a little bit. He's got a couple of threes to go down, but that's really it.
Patillo tried to make a move around Gord, lost the handle. And again, you're absolutely right. Leading all scorers in the game, Ali Ahmed, he has been basically A, B, C, D, and everything else in the alphabet offensively for the St. John Riptide.
Yeah, and to Horace Wormley's credit, too, just kept going back to that well. And I'm sure we'll see Ahmed before long here in this fourth quarter playing heavy minutes.
Ahmed, 18 points on the game. Again, leading all scorers. Leading scorers for the Magic. 3 players with a dozen, Almond, Thomas, and Patillo. And there's Corey. He's been feeling it from outside, couldn't get it there. Here's Binney. Outlet pass for Marvin. He takes it in, tried to go to the left hand. And defensively, the Magic wouldn't let him get near it.
And Binney's been solid for them. He's come in. He wasn't getting a lot of minutes early in the season, the Canadian, but since they had their the period at the middle of the year where they lost Gabe Freeman and had to adjust, he's been one of the guys that stepped up and given him solid minutes off the bench.
And Al Stewart steps into the middle there and picks that off. And they're going to call the foul on Taquane Gord. So the two 10s came together. Gord for the Riptide, Stewart for the Magic.
I haven't counted Al's steals so far, but I mean, that's at least 3-4 for him, and he's just being his disruptive self on that end of the floor.
Well, what a bonus it is when you can take a guy like Anthony Anderson out of the game and bring in a guy like Al Stewart to basically be his replacement. Nice problem to have if you're the Moncton Magic coaching staff. And away from the ball, we've got a foul on Patillo.
Yeah. That was
all kinds of conversations going on in front of us, Dave.
Yeah, it's a puzzler. Looked like Juan was pretty still, and Taekwon Cord kind of had a hold of him the entire possession down at this end, and then kind of just threw his arms back and they kind of got one from the refs on that one. Nice move inside there.
So that foul goes on Jason Calise. That's his second. That trip no good for the Riptide. Magic will bring it back up the floor. Al Stewart. He points now for positioning. Gives it off to Marvell Waith. Waith looking for somewhere to go. Gives it to Calise. Otieno taps him on the back. Calise bounce pass. This is Patillo. Into the paint to the right-hand floater. Juan Patillo. A man that big shouldn't be that smooth.
Wow. How hard was that shot?
I really hope we get to see a replay of that, because that was poetry in motion right there from big Juan Patillo.
Twinkle toes sweeping his way through the lane and finishing with the English off the glass.
Well, certainly in this game, Juan Patillo, native of Las Vegas, but it has not been a gamble to feed him the ball inside. He has been very good for the Magic, and he hits there the and one. Juan Patillo, he has been dynamic, and certainly I think his best game for the Magic since coming over.
And
look at Al Stewart defensively to Juan. You know what Juan wanted to do? He was looking to feed that rim with a big jam.
Yeah, and Al's pointed himself. I think Juan was expecting the ball to be thrown up and just kind of fumbled that when it came to him in his chest. So, and Al's pointed himself, and he's angry about it.
10-10 left to go in this fourth quarter. 68-52, Moncton Magic lead. After an early 7-2 lead for the Riptide, the Magic came back, took the lead, and they've led ever since. And Malcolm Miller, finally, he says, I hit one.
Gets one to go, yeah, and it's a two. And he found himself in a switch there with Al Stewart, and I was expecting him to attack. That's something he should look to do if he gets Al on the switch.
Al Stewart tried to lob it up again for Patillo, and a turnover. Here come the Magic now. Looking to make a run again, and there's Ahmed, and that's what the Riptide have done exceptionally well all day. Feed Ali Ahmed in the paint, in the post, and more often than not, Ahmed has delivered.
I think Al felt bad about his previous turnover, and it led to another one there. He tried to force feed that lob into Patillo when it wasn't there.
68-56. Al Stewart bounces it into Marvell Waith. Nice move, baseline. Tried to get that shot in, no good. Ahmed with the rebound. Jeremiah Morty. And now we're going to get a technical on Marvell Waith, as I think he was complaining about a non-call at the other end, and up the floor he gets teed up, and Marvell, they're going to have to calm him down because he's going right back over to talk to the referee.
Yeah, and he said, to my ears, all he said was, come on, man, that's a foul, which is a quick whistle and can get you even more frustrated. I understand the refs, but normally they'll give a little bit of a sounding board attempt to these guys, and to my ears, that's all that Marvell said, and I think that's more frustrating than the non-foul call.
So a big moment in this game now for both teams. Certainly, emotionally, the Moncton Magic don't want to let this game get away from them and allow emotion to take over. But now with the technical, it's going to give technical free throws to the Riptide plus possession. So a chance now for them to work this ball and to get it underneath double digits. And again, it's worth mentioning there's something about that psychological barrier, and especially the Riptide have been trailing by double digits for so long, David. With 9-10 to go, if they can get it inside double digits on this possession, that's going to give them a lift.
Yeah, and there you go. They made a little bit of an adjustment on that screen roll to Ahmed there, got their hand on it. So I think they're looking to shut that play down.
Here's Isom in the paint, spinning around, backing away, and Mo Isom. Pretty looking shot there.
And see, that's the danger you get. If you make an adjustment and that adjustment is at all a switch, then you can get big on small like that, and while Corey played him well and made him take a tough shot, he shot it over him in another turnover.
And for the first time in a long time, the lead is under double digits for the Magic. 68-59. Terry Thomas getting ready to check back in now. Meanwhile, Possession to the Riptide. Warmly takes it in strong, and Kalist was there defensively. But right now, you just start to get a little bit of a feeling that the momentum pendulum swinging just a little bit toward Nelson Taroba and the Riptide, and perhaps Joe Salerno feeling it as well as he calls timeout.
And stops are the name of the game for Riptide right now, and they're getting them. And Coach Salerno wisely with the timeout and getting Terry Thomas back into the game.
Well, there's one thing we've seen from this Moncton Magic coaching staff all season long, and certainly from head coach Joe Salerno. He seems to have a very good feel as to when a timeout is needed, and more often than not, his team has a way of responding coming out of those timeouts.
Yeah, indeed, and only 3 points so far in this quarter in almost 4 minutes for the Magic. So I think the offensive end of the floor is going to have some discussion, but also defensively, still that Ali Ahmed, Horace Wormley screen roll combination still is getting some things in that half court, because they got the, like I said, they got that switch there, and sometimes if you shut down that first motion, if that switch happens, then you got a big on small, and that's what happened with Marique Isom working over Corey Allman in the post, and he did a great job on him, made him take a tough shot, but that length, he had that vision to see over him and make it.
Well, and you talk about Moncton only scoring 3 points here so far in the fourth quarter. In the second half, with 8:26 to go in the fourth quarter, the St. John Riptide are winning this half 29-24. And again, they've got that lead now inside double digits. So again, there's that little psychological barrier of a double-digit lead. Once you get it inside double digits, then you just start to feel that your opponent is within striking distance and you really want to pull them back towards you.
And St. John's been in this spot before. You look at how their games have gone in parts of this year. They've had some deficits that they've come back from, and bigger ones than this, where they've gotten themselves back into games, and they just rely. They know they got that defense that they can lean back on. They're gonna get stops. If they can get a run of them, they can make some runs, and if that defense creates offense, as it's done here a little bit in this second half for them.
So Horace Wormley will shoot free throws here. And again, worth mentioning, this St. John Riptide team played the Moncton Magic tough all season. They took the season series 8 games to 5.
And Coach Salerno talked too about how impressive it was after the loss of Gabe Freeman, how easy it could have been, tempting it could have been to try to bring in a big name. And they realized there wasn't going to be someone they could bring in, one guy, to create Gabe Freeman, so to replace him. So they sort of looked in-house and went, okay, who here is going to step up? And it's been a lot of different guys. It's been guys they brought in like Ahmed, but it's been guys like Redpath and Morty and guys like that have played bigger minutes and better minutes for them to replace his scoring and rebounding.
8 points the lead. This is the closest the Riptide have been since midway through that first half. Terry Thomas no good. Patillo was there for the rebound. It goes off of Juan, and the ball will go to the Riptide as they get a chance now to come a little closer.
And that's a shot that Terry is very comfortable with, moving to his left, that little step back. Didn't get it to go, and now it's an 8-point game.
Horace Wormley lets that ball cross half court, picks it up. Horace to the right wing side, takes it baseline, bounces it into the quarter for Morty. Trying to get it to Ahmed, bounces it back to Morty, and Morty too easy, baseline and in.
And the St. John Riptide fans in the corner loving life down there right now in their blue Riptide wear.
Well, the lead at various points of this game has been in the high double digits, 20-point plus lead for portions of this game, but right now it is a 2-possession game. Terry Thomas, Juan Patillo with the point guard-like feed underneath, and Terry finally gets the bucket, and that's going to make Terry feel just a little better.
Just gorgeous. The big men with dueling, dropping dimes here in back-to-back possessions. First Ahmed, backdoor to Morty, and then that gorgeous one for tea time.
And there's Isom on the nice lob pass from Horace Wormley, and Mo Isom glides in, puts his hands on it, and just puts it into the bucket.
And again, that's another one. When you start playing that screen roll a little bit differently, those cuts, those weak side cuts can be there. And Isom, clever movement without the ball.
Buckle up, folks. 6:50 to go. It's a 6-point lead. Moncton Magic 70, Riptide 64. Here's a turnover now. Isom going all the way. Half Euro step up and in, and Nelson Taroba pumps the fist. The Riptide fans are on their feet, and it's a 4-point game.
And another careless turnover, and Jeremy Williams tried to take the foul right after committing it, but they didn't give it to him.
Gut check time now for the Moncton Magic. Patillo being guarded by Ahmed. Look at Juan. Puts it in off the glass, and that's what you're going to need for the Moncton Magic. Juan Patillo flexes the muscle, gives the gun show, and he'll go to the line for the and one.
Yeah, and Ahmed was upset. He felt that he got a push-off from Patillo before that, but, I mean, he's so big and strong. Sometimes he just gets that body into you, and it can feel like he's throwing you off, but you're just bouncing off him, and Patillo is he's exerting his influence here in this game. Again in this fourth quarter.
6'8", 230 pounds. Juan Patillo.
And Terry with the hustle.
Juan Patillo misses the and one attempt. And that foul goes on Ahmed against Terry. So that's the second on Ollie.
When you can create an extra possession off a missed free throw, that's just a gift. And Terry not leaving anything to chance in a playoff game.
Jeremy Williams now goes in against Morty. Hands it off to Terry Thomas. There's Terry dropping the shoulder, banging bodies, gives it to Patillo. Smooth jump shot from 12 feet, no good. Rebound to Horace Wormley. Wormley sees the opening, puts it up, and flexes and shows, hey, that's a three.
Yeah, and you got to identify him. That's somebody you got to pick up in the open court. Poor communication there on transition D. And defense is needed. Denzel Taylor's involved, and here he comes back into the game.
One possession game as Terry charges through the paint. 5:45 to go in this fourth quarter. Denzel Taylor, as you mentioned, he'll check back in now. And that foul goes on Ali Ahmed, and so he's picked up a couple of quick ones here. That's three now on Ahmed.
And Denzel in limited minutes has garnered 10 boards, at least a couple blocks, and a couple steals. And Juan Patillo goes to the bench, not the sub I was expecting, but I think probably a rest for Juan. And he'll be back in to tandem with Denzel to finish this game up front, I would expect.
Well, free throws going to become that much more important down the stretch here. Terry hit the first. 2 for 2 on that trip for Terry Thomas, 74-69. 5-point lead for the Moncton Magic, but the Riptide trying to get back on even ground here. Morty looking for somewhere to go, takes it in deep, kicks it warmly in the corner, and they're going to say
stepped out of bounds.
Well, we've seen it before. We referenced it early in the game, and Horace, well, he doesn't have the biggest feet.
Horace got the smaller feet. You should be able to fit in there. But yeah, it's so you see it so often in today's ball. It's the strangest kind of development of basketball being such a three-point dependent game now. Is those guys with their heels on the sidelines.
Well, that's a big call too, because that shot actually went in. Here's Jeremy Williams. Puts it on the floor, takes it baseline in a crowd, turns it over. Isom puts it into the hands of Wormley. Here comes Horace for the Riptide. Goes right into the chest of Corey Almond, and Almond's going to get called for the block.
And you look at Horace's game today. We haven't talked about him individually much, except because he's been doing so much damage with Ali Ahmed in that screen roll and benefiting Ahmed. But you look at the score sheet, and there he is, 15 points, 5 assists on the screen roll, and 7 boards. We talked about him being, you know, diminutive guy and among the league leaders in the top 15-20 in the league in defensive boards and averaging over 5 a game from his position. And here he is doing the job again tonight.
So we've got a timeout here with 5:15 left to go in the fourth quarter. It's a 5-point lead for the Moncton Magic, 74-69. They took the lead early in the first quarter and have not relinquished it to this point, although the St. John Riptide have come back a long way. They were down by 20-plus points at one point in this game, but right now only trail by 5. We mentioned Ali Ahmed. He's the leading scorer in the game. He's got 20 points. Horace Wormley with 15. Mo Isom with 14. Malcolm Miller with 10. And for the Moncton Magic, their leading scorer is the big man, Juan Patillo. He's got 17. Terry Thomas with 16. Corey Almond with 12.
We talked about the turnover story, Scott. It's 26 now. It's adding up again for the Riptide, but Magic well over their season average too at 18, and it's led to a lot of points off turnovers going both ways. But the numbers too have switched on the in the shooting department. The Magic at one point were almost 50%, and St. John in the low 30s. That's switched. St. John now at 44.4 on the game and ahead of Moncton. Moncton's only made 42% of their shots, and St. John getting to the line much more effectively. 15 of 19 there from the line, while just 6 of 7. Only 7 shots from the line for the Magic.
And you reference these two teams, the top 2 defensive teams in the NBL. Both, they had to shave it down to hundredths of a point, but both teams only giving up 100 points, identical on the season to their opponents. And as you mentioned, the top 2 defensive teams in the NBL, so probably not all that surprising to see a 74-69 score with just over 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
And St. John's been doing it solely on the strength of their starting lineup. Only 2 bench points for St. John's so far this game. 20 for the Magic.
Here's Ahmed. Ahmed puts it on the floor, floats it in off the glass, rebound tapped away. Good defense there by the Magic.
Yeah, good challenge there by Patillo when Ali put it on the floor. Made it a tough finish and then forced the ball to the corner.
Anthony Anderson back into the game now for Moncton. Gives it to Patillo. Puts it up high, gets his own rebound. Juan has it stripped though by Wormley. He's got Miller with him. Horace takes it himself. Couldn't get the shot. The follow by Isom, and it's good. And again, Taroba loving it, as are the Riptide fans.
And Isom's been big too. A couple of big shots here in the fourth, and a hustle play there.
The Riptide will not go away. 74-71. Again, a one possession game. Terry Thomas uses Juan as the screen. Up high, scoops it in, no good. Here comes Morty, a chance now with a 3-pointer to tie. Jeremiah Morty in a crowd. Locked down there, gives it over to Isom. Corner from the baseline, Mo! Isom is good. It's a 2-pointer, 74-73. Moncton Magic, 1-point lead.
And Double A doesn't like the movement of his guys walking up the floor, waving them up.
Here's Anthony now, through a crowd, swooping underneath the basket. Kicks it out to Corey. Over to Terry, contested shot off the back of the iron. Rebound chance there as Denzel went up to get it.
Denzel just carves out that spot. Says, get me out of here if you can. And very few in the league can. And he's creating opportunities left, right, and center.
That foul goes on Mo Isom, the native of Austin, Texas. That's the first on Mo.
And again, I'm not sure what Coach Salerno was in referee McGrattan's ear about something. I'm not sure what it is. So he got the foul call. Be interested to know what that running conversation's about.
Anderson now to Corey Allman. Morty comes out quickly on him, and Morty slaps at Corey. And now we've got a little bit of John taking place once again between Corey Allman and Jeremiah Morty.
And Ali Ahmed coming out, pointing at his temples to Jeremiah Morty.
Yeah, saying, hey, think about it now. Let's not let
they're back together.
away with it.
And this is a situation where you might see some double T's in a lot of cases. And Denzel Taylor trying to be a peacemaker as well.
Well, Corey Allman from Oxon Hill, Maryland. And Jeremiah Morty from Valley Stream, New York.
And what both coaches talk about with their players is toughness. They love the toughness of these guys, no matter the position, point guard, power forward, center. They love toughness. And Morty and Almond are still having a running convo.
And I'm pretty sure they're not talking about their hometowns and where the nice places to go are during the spring of the year.
No. And Jeremiah Morty turns out and gives a thumbs up to the ref. I'm good. I'm done.
So Corey, again, free throws, taking on even bigger amplification here. And Corey can't get that second one. A little bit of an eyeball for Jeremiah, but no more words.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-point game, 75-73. Wormley works around that ball. Now the chant of defense coming up from the Moncton Magic home crowd here. 5 seconds on the shot clock as Wormley steps in. Nowhere to go. Morty's going to have to do something quickly here. Jeremiah can't get the shot off. Great defense again by the Magic, as it's a shot clock violation and a turnover against the Riptide.
Unbelievable possession here. And I expected to see some closing time minutes here from Al Stewart, but Coach Salerno seems to be confident with Terry Thomas out there guarding Horace Wormley. And we'll see how that works out. Terry, we know, is an all-world defender.
Well, we talk about the veterans on this team as Anthony Anderson puts the shot up, no good. But it's going to be the veterans now who are going to have to lead the way here for the Moncton Magic. It is certainly nail-biting time with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. 75-73, 2-point lead for the Magic. The Riptide haven't led since early, and here comes Terry. He missed one before, and he misses one there. He was hampered from behind. Again, he's looking for a call as Wormley was there defensively.
Yeah, not much of a foul, though, really. Just a good challenge. It looks like they've gone to a zone here. Yeah, and that's what they've done here that's mixed up St. John. I thought they were matching up. Terry Thomas.
Now it's Coach Nelson Taroba into the ear of Dave McGrath. And so McGrath, he's getting it in the left ear from Coach Salerno. He's getting it in the right ear from Nelson Taroba, and he doesn't have any other ears to give.
And they don't think, their beef was that by the time he caught the ball, his heel was off the ground and was not out of bounds, was their argument. But again, the unblemished record of referees not changing their calls continues.
Every possession now taking on incredible importance as Wormley commits the foul as Anderson tried to step around him.
That was an obvious and bad one. Got his arm around Double A's waist, and Double A is going to have to go to the line and take some big free throws. And now Coach Salerno seems to be going a little offense-defense here with his subs, and we got a timeout, St. John.
So 2:31 left to go in the fourth quarter. For much of this game, Dave, it seemed that Moncton was going to be home and cooled, but you got to know better when you're playing the St. John Riptide, a very resilient crew. Coach Nelson Taroba has done a tremendous job with this team all season long, and they've given the Moncton Magic fits all season long, and why should it be any different here in the playoffs?
Yeah, well, the heart and the courage and the toughness and whatever else you want to, descriptors you want to put on it, St. John's got all that, you know, in spades, all right? They're not going to back down. It doesn't matter what the lead is. I talked about it earlier this quarter. They've come back from leads all season, relying on that defense, and they've gotten an unbelievable amount of stops. And as we go look at the out-of-town scoreboard, halftime, Island Storm, Game 2, 3-point lead on Halifax down there in Halifax. Island doing a great job, and St. John's has come back a little bit, taking a lead on the Rock. 3 points, 70-67 over Windsor with 7:40 left in that quarter.
Yeah, the Island Storm 45-42 over the Hurricanes. Listen, we talked about how all 8 teams are very good and you don't want to sleep on any of them, but that would be somewhat shocking should the Island Storm go over to Halifax and take 2 at the Scotiabank Center. Still, lots of time left in that game too, but that would be quite a result.
And particularly given the injury problems that Island has, I've checked the game sheet to see who's in or out of the game, but no, they're still playing those same, it's 7 players that have played. Carl Hall, Devon Maxwell, Chris Anderson, Frank Session, Kenny Osei are their 5 stars. So they got guys out. They're missing guys in the backcourt, guys in the front court, and they're just playing. And Carl Hall, as he did in game 1, is doing yeoman's work in game 2, on track for another double-double.
So out of that timeout, 2:31 left here in the fourth quarter. Anthony Anderson with free throws. He misses the first. And again, you just can't talk about how important free throws are all game long, but they just personify and amplify that much more late in the game. 1 for 2 on that trip.
Yeah. Really frustrated with that first one in Double A. You know, he hasn't seen the ball go through the mesh so many times tonight, and that can be tough in a late game situation, asking to make free throws.
3-point game. Corey defending there on Wormley, gets it to Mo Isom. He gives it off now to Malcolm Miller. 10 seconds on the shot clock for the Riptide. Here's Wormley. Corey forces him back toward midcourt. Horace now trying to penetrate in with the dribble. Double team gets it to Ahmed. Terry is there defensively. Terry swats it away. And they run out of time. And Terry Thomas, primal screen, but from defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And the defensive effort from Terry Thomas comes on every possession. It doesn't matter if he's guarding the point guard, or if he doesn't matter if he's got to challenge a big guy down low and get a big block. You can count on D-time for D-time at that end of the floor.
Big defensive stop there. Now, Moncton needs to turn it into some points on the offensive side and stretch this lead a little bit. Just a 1-possession game. Here is Terry looking for someone to give it to. Juan Patillo on Ahmed. We've seen that matchup all game, and it's stripped away, and that's going to be another foul on Ali Ahmed.
And Patillo, it's been dangerous taking the ball in there and keeping it by his. If he's going to make that spin move, he's got to get that tucked tightly against his body. He's been leaving it down low there to get swiped at, and it's cost him a couple times, but not there. He got smacked on the wrist. And more big free throws for the Magic.
So I apologize. It wasn't Ahmed. It was 23, not 32. So they give the foul to Jeremiah Morty. That's the 4th on Jeremiah, but the result the same as it's Juan Patillo to the line. Juan Patillo hits the first. So again, big free throw hit there, extending the lead to 4.
Such a pretty looking shot for a big guy. Never looks like it's going to miss. It's so soft.
One looking to go 2 for 2 on the trip. Rolls it around, 1 for 2 on that one. So 77-73.
Broadcaster jinx as always.
1:41 left to play in the fourth quarter. Wherever you are watching this broadcast, you're watching a good one, and we are glad to have you on board. Scott Squires, Dave Tingley, and our Moncton Magic TV crew here at the Coliseum. A great crowd on hand on a Sunday afternoon. It's game 1 of the Battle of the 506. Round 1 of the playoffs. Malcolm Miller bangs it off the back of the iron. Ahmed gets the rebound, couldn't get the shot, but gets it back again. 2 offensive rebounds for Ahmed underneath.
How big has he been? This is the game of his life, Ali Ahmed.
Yeah, he has been tremendous for the Riptide, no question about it. 35 on his jersey, but he's been #1 for the Riptide here this afternoon.
And he was cut earlier this season by Cape Breton, and I talked to Rob Spahn about it. He just kind of communicated to me and that he liked Ali, just wasn't a fit for how they played, and so sometimes that, and we saw him put in good minutes for Cape Breton sometimes, and especially in this building, but he just didn't fit there for whatever reason. He fits like a glove here in St. John.
Looking to go perfect from the line. No, he misses. So he's 9 of 10 from the line, 21 points on the day, and again leading all scorers in this game 1. 1:18 left to play in the fourth quarter. Hang on Harvey time here now for the Moncton Magic. And Anthony Anderson bounces it to Thomas. Thomas sees an opening, takes it strong, off the glass and in. Terry Thomas, animalistic move there.
Oh, just huge, just putting his head down. And just a big mistake there by St. John, giving him such an easy path.
Here's Horace now trying to take it in strong, and he'll go to the line. But you could just see from the angle that we have, Dave, Terry to our left, he just saw that little bit of daylight in the paint, and he just drove.
And it only takes 1 moment's lapse, and St. John's been so good defending the drive all game. That's the first straight line drive we've really seen them give up, and it was so easy. Just swipe through, right to left, take it on, and finish at the rim. The easiest 2 that Terry's had all day.
Horace warmly at the line, 16 points on the day. He's 3 of 4 from the line, looking to go 4 of 5. He does. So that's now 17 points on the afternoon for Horace. Under 60 seconds to go in quarter 4. A 1-possession game, 3-point lead for the Magic. The crowd is into it. We're into it. The teams are into it. Hope you're into it wherever you're watching this broadcast. Here's Terry Thomas now, 6 seconds on the shot clock. Terry floats it up, no good. Ali Ahmed with the rebound. There's about a 9-second difference between game and shot. 17 seconds on the shot clock. They don't want to give up the 3. Here's Morty now.
No need for a 3 for St. John just yet either, but it's getting there with them using so much of the clock.
Mo thought about it, takes it in instead. Baseline ice him, no good. And he'll go to the line to shoot 2 with 16.5 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Sweet sassy molassie, what a game we got going here.
That's got to be a hashtag. This is fun to watch. Again, games in the 70s in basketball oftentimes are the ugliest games to watch. Not this, not this. Give me 4 more of these. And a big, huge, gigantic miss.
And the crowd lets Mo know, and Mo steps away from the line to regroup himself. 79-76, Isom misses the first. He's got 18 points on the day, make it 19 as he hits the second, and we'll have Kenny Otieno check back into the game. And Coach Joe Salerno wants to call time and talk it over. So there will be no shot clock, now 16.5 seconds left. Magic will have the ball, and I'm expecting that the Riptide are going to foul quick here.
Well, they have to foul quick. You got to turn this in. You can't count on misses, so you got to get the foul. Look for a steal, maybe a couple of dribbles. If you can try to look for a turnover off a first pass, maybe, but no more than that. You can't let any more than 2 or 3 seconds come off the clock, because if they make 2, you're going to need a quick one and then another foul. So get the foul as quickly as possible for sure. And we'll see the lineup. I'll be interested to see the lineup that Moncton brings out. It's going to be the 5 best free throw shooters. They had some good ones on the floor already. I think they'll keep guys like Denzel Taylor, though, that shoot in the 60s or the 50s a little bit off the floor, but they'll go with good ball handlers and good passers and good free throw shooters here. Will the Magic.
16.5 left. the St. John Riptide on the road. They got up early, 7-2. Then Moncton just came charging at them, built the lead up into the 20s, up to 23, I believe, at one point. Looked to be running away with it. But this Nelson Tarova coach team, the St. John Riptide, they are a gritty, resilient bunch, and they have battled hard all game long. And this has been, as you said, you might think that a 79-77 game would be kind of boring and lull you to sleep. Absolutely to the contrary. This has been a dynamite opening game, and I can't wait for the rest of this series.
Yeah. Tomorrow night is game 2, fans, so join us here again, 7 p.m. for us on the call.
So here we go, and I know you can't see it at home, but Dave, when I pick my papers up off the table, I'm excited.
You can't sit still.
Oh, Anthony Anderson, look at Gord trying to hinder the inbounds pass. Gord right over there on top of Anthony Anderson, trying to make sure that Anthony can't get a clean look to inbound.
St. John does such a good job denying without fouling.
Here we go. Corey Allman now. They're going to foul him. They tried to steal it first. Now he's triple teamed over there.
And
they're going to call jump ball. And possession to the Moncton Magic. But my goodness, we lost sight of Corey there for a second. He was in the midst of Gord, Horace Wormley, as well as Jeremiah Morty, and they kind of surrounded him.
And an underrated part of that, I think we should discuss. I think Corey didn't really panic there at half court and I could tell that they discussed it because they immediately signaled our ball. I think that Moncton knew, look, if it is tied up, let's get the ball to Corey. If we do happen to get it up top, just hold the ball. They're gonna foul you. They're gonna try to trap you. But if they tie you up, we got possession. So don't panic. And I think that was a good kind of underrated part of that play there.
So the other side of that is now, if somehow, some way, St. John can employ the same strategy and get the jump ball, possession arrow now will be back to the Riptide. But I'm sure that, again, the Moncton Magic will be very aware of that and try to avoid that coming out of this timeout with the inbounds. 10.6 to go. 79-77 is your score.
And I think what you're talking about there, I think they'll give a different look maybe out of this timeout, a different look, but still trying for the same result. Get Corey Allman coming to the ball. I think he's the guy that number one choice to have the ball in his hands. He's so efficient from the free throw line.
Well, appropriate that they're playing Hell's Bells by AC/DC because this game has been electric, and it has been Hell's Bells all game long. A great show put on here by these two teams. For the Moncton Magic fans in attendance, a nice contingent of St. John Riptide fans here as well. Everybody at the Coliseum enjoying this game. Hope wherever you're watching on the broadcast, you're enjoying it as well. A great opening game to this best of 5 between the two New Brunswick combatants, the Battle of the 506.
And Jason Kalist on the floor too. Another guy putting all the way away from the ball. Another great free throw shooter.
So here we go. Anthony Anderson adjusts the sign over there. Looking for somewhere to go, bounces it in. Here's Corey, and this time they have to wrap Corey up as Wormley was over there. So now the free throws will become extremely important.
And this is the risk now that you didn't foul right away and tried to trap. This is the risk that you have. The best free throw shooter on the team has the ball. You got to figure he's going to make 2 out of 2. If he does, then you're down 4 with 9 seconds left. You got to score really fast and get a foul again. And you've kind of shortchanged yourself a little bit. Corey knocks it in.
That makes him 2 of 3 from the line. 14 points on the day for Corey Allman. The lead now up to 3. This to make it a 2-possession game. Huge free throw right here in game 1. Corey, 2 of 2 on the trip, 3 of 4 on the day. Make that 15 points now for Corey and the young man from Maryland with 2 huge free throws, Dave, extending it now to a 4-point lead with 8.9. Now the big thing, keep in mind the St. John Riptide, an exceptionally good 3-point shooting team right across their lineup. Horace Wormley can shoot the 3. Malcolm Miller can shoot it. Ahmed can shoot it. Morty, Isom, up and down the lineup. The big thing for the Moncton Magic is do not foul if they try the 3-point attempt.
Yeah, and the advantage of the pro game here is St. John gets to move it to half court, so they don't have to go the length of the floor in 9 seconds, but you still got to score fast and you got to foul fast, and Moncton's going to have their best shooters on the floor. And Do they go for a 3 right away? Not sure, but if you're St. John, you take the first best shot that you get, and then foul fast. And yeah, stay tuned after the game, fans too. 8.9 seconds left. We're going to have the player of the game for the Magic, and as it stands right now, I think the clear choice is Juan Patillo, changing the game the way he did, having his best outing for the Magic.
So now let's see who the St. John Riptide have on the floor here. And, you know, I mean, there's so many players that can take this shot because they obviously need, well, they don't need a 3, but they have so many guys that can shoot it. Who do you expect Nelson Taroba to want to put the ball into their hands?
I think despite his tough night, you got to look at Malcolm Miller because he's the guy. I mean, you'd like maybe Horace Wormley, but how good a look is he going to get? Moncton's probably going to switch. There's probably going to be a bigger, taller guy. It's going to be tough for him to get a shot off that fast. Malcolm Miller's your best candidate to get a shot off quick.
Ali Ahmed's got the hair pulled back now and tied up out of his face, so he's on the floor. Malcolm Miller rushes over. Isom tries to get it into Morty. It's turned over, and now the Riptide have to foul. Great work there as Thomas and Kalist were there defensively, and the Riptide just couldn't get the ball in cleanly. And to our right, Ahmed and Isom arms out looking at the referee. I'm not sure what they're complaining about, but they're definitely not happy with what just transpired.
They're making a kicking motion almost as if there was a kick before the foul there on the inbounds pass, but it looked to me like the play was designed for Miller, but almost more as a decoy because he came off and the inbounds passer, Isom, was looking at him, and Miller pointed, I think, to the second option on that, which was Jeremiah Mortier. They tried to get it to him, but it was a little bit late.
Kalist 2 for 2 in his only trip. Can't get that one to go. Jason's got 5 points in the game. Again, if he can hit this second, it'll extend it to a 5-point lead. 6.6 left to go in the fourth quarter. Jason hits the second. Does indeed make it a 5-point lead. 6.6 to go. Fouling. Here comes Wormley, steps up from well downtown. Shot's no good. Terry has it. And that will do it. Game 1 will go to the Moncton Magic. The St. John Riptide gave the Magic everything they could handle, but Juan Patillo and the rest of the team hang on. It was a nail-biter, but they do indeed take a 1-game-to-none lead over the St. John Riptide, David. But if this game 1 is any indication, make sure you're either here at the Coliseum for game 2, at Harbor Station for games 3 and potentially 4, and certainly check out the live stream via monctonmagic.ca because this has the makings of being a classic series.
Yeah, it was wonderful to watch, and these guys are respectful of each other and like each other very much, and they'll get after it just as hard here in game 2. And yeah, lots to go back and look at though. If you're the Moncton Magic, letting a 23-point lead go, what did St. John do to you defensively to get you off of your mark a little bit? And can we force feed that ball into Juan Patillo even more in game 2?
Well, the Moncton Magic at center court, right on the Magic logo, saluting a fantastic crowd here this afternoon. On behalf of my broadcast partner, Dave Tingley, I'm Scott Squires. I'm going to step aside and just, again, don't go too far. Dave will have our Moncton Magic Player of the Game interview with Juan Patillo coming up very shortly. Just a reminder, Game 2 right back here at the Coliseum tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Atlantic time. I would encourage you to come out to the Coliseum and watch live, but if not, visit monctonmagic.ca and watch the broadcast via the live stream. Once again, I'm Scott Squires. Remember, folks, if you can't take part in sport, be a good one anyway. I'll step aside off the headset, but don't go too far. As mentioned, Dave Tingley will have Player of the Game, Juan Patillo, in just a couple of minutes.
He's coming, I think. By my lonesome right now. Thanks, Juan. Yeah, just get you to throw that on and stand right here for a minute. All right, thanks for sticking around, Magic fans, for Magic TV. Dave Tingley joined by the player of the game, the big man in the middle, Juan Patillo, who had his best game, picked a good time to have it for the Magic today. Unstoppable in the post, finished with 18 points and 7 boards and 1. Listen, man, we saw you guys. You guys came out with like a kind of a second level of energy that we've seen from the previous, especially you. Your emotion. You got into this game right off the jump. What was it? Was it playoff time that adds that extra kind of jump for you into your game?
I mean, this is what you play.
Are you on? I think you're on. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is what you play basketball for. So playoff time. You got to bring it. I've been here before, so this is nothing new to me. I played in the playoffs in Windsor, so this is what Coach brought me here for. So it's nothing new to me. It's a surprise to maybe the fans. Because still trying to adjust to the team. New fit, but it's just nothing new to me, man.
Yeah. And it seemed like when you got going a little bit, the guys kind of force-fed it down in your post a little bit. And yeah, you haven't been here that long. There's always an adjustment period, but you looked really comfortable there tonight. And you and Ali Ahmed went back and forth at each other pretty good. You both had real good games. But when you got that, I think you feel like you got that athleticism advantage over most big guys in this league down there. Explosiveness.
Yeah. I just try to play my strengths. You know what I'm saying? I might not be the biggest guy on the court, but I know if I use my speed and my quickness, I can get around dudes. And I'm pretty tough when it's coming to finishing at the rim. So I don't really worry about getting blocked and anything like that. Just finish strong through the contact. And looking forward to the next game. We still got to protect home court. We got another game tomorrow night. Big game for us. And we got to go from there.
Yeah, and those guys, you got up on them 23 at one point, and they made it such a tight game. What is it that they changed defensively, if anything, to got them some stops to get back into it that you guys can look to fix maybe for next game?
I gotta look at the film and check it out.
Yeah.
It happens so fast, but I'm sure they picked up their intensity. Like I said, it's a playoff game, so both teams out here competing and want to win the game. So I'm sure their coach got on at halftime. They made some adjustments that slowed us down a little bit, but we still got to do what we did with the lead. We're gonna play aggressive and play feed off each other.
Yeah. So Juan Patillo, big game today for Magic fans in Game 1, a 1-game-to-none lead now for the Magic. Tomorrow night, Game 2 here with the Riptide at 7 p.m. The big man will be here, bringing his game again. So thanks to Juan Patillo, player of the game, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks for sticking around at Magic TV. Thanks, man. Good job.
Yep. All right.
Good, man. See you tomorrow. Yep. I think that's the whole game. Yep.